B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Baruch Hashem, we're back on our Wednesday program. Shtabach Shemo La'ad. It's wonderful to see you guys. You guys give me chizuk. You give me some hope for the future. Shtabach Shemo La'ad. Ashrechem v'ashrech elkechem that you come in to learn Torah on a Wednesday night. If Hashem knew all of this, then I understand why He created the world. Why? Because He knows that His kids are going to come learn Torah on a Wednesday night. Shtabach Shemo. So, B'ezrat Hashem, tonight we're going to have a shiur. You guys are going to ask B'ezrat Hashem some questions. B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give me some answers to give you. Shiur Torah will be for a refuah shlema for Yochevet bat Batya. Also for Sarah bat Levana bat Sarah, Ovadia ben Levana, David ben Nesriya, Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael, B'ezrat Hashem, will have refuah shlema, refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf. So, as we've done already in the last few weeks, Baruch Hashem, you guys are asking some good questions. Please continue. One thing I want to, advise, maybe, is that I understand that it's a challenge, and I understand that everybody wants to win $50, and I don't have a problem with that. But if we're already here, we're already going to learn, I just recommend a couple of things. Number one, however long you're going to be here. You're going to be here for an hour, you're going to be for 5 hours, whatever you're going to be here, make sure you're here. You're with me. Not with your friends only, not with your phone, not with the rest of the world. Because we're here, we don't see each other all day. So try to put the phones on vacation for the next couple of hours. Put them on off. Vibrate doesn't usually work. Why? Because vibrate usually wakes you up anyway. Second thing is also the little chit-chatting between each other. I understand that everybody wants to talk. You haven't seen each other for, 5 minutes, and you want to talk about something. But you have to have a little bit of courtesy for the rest of the people that don't want to hear you. They want to hear me. They want to hear Kadosh Baruch Hu speak through the words that I'm saying to you. So when you talk, it's interfering to other people. Because they can't hear me, they can hear you. And they didn't come for you. If they wanted to come for you, they come to your house. So unless you want to pay them $15 to come to your house tomorrow, please try to not talk. If you can't help yourself, just get up, go outside, finish your conversation, come back inside. Buchim habayim, you're welcome back. Because again, it's I know a couple of people already told me it's interfering, it's disturbing, it's hard to pay attention. I can't stop listening to this person's conversation, and so on and so forth. So have a little bit of decency for each other. Not me, for each other. Of course for the Torah as well, but for each other. Last but not least, in regards to the questions, as much as I love your questions, and I enjoy every one of them, and it gives me a lot of chizuk, I really want you guys to ask questions that you understand. Meaning, I know that sometimes you're going to look on Google and you say, what's the hardest question I could ask the rabbi to win $50? Maybe Google's going to give you a suggestion. But the problem is that sometimes you can ask a question and you don't even understand the question. You don't understand the question, so what's the point? Ask a question you care about, not that Google cares about. Question that bothers you. If you don't mind, take that box and put it over here so somebody can sit there. Also with the other things, so I can see some more pure neshamot sitting in front of me. I don't know, for some reason everybody's scared of me. Nobody wants to sit in front of me. I promise I don't bite. At least not right away. So ask a question you understand. Ask a question you care about. Don't ask me, does the Torah say how big is the moon exactly to the meter and a centimeter? Even if I give you the answer, which by the way the Torah does. Even if I give you the answer, what difference is it to you how big the moon is? What do you care? Are you going to sleep better at night because the moon is 1 meter closer to what your estimate was? What do you care how big the moon is? Ask a question like a mamash question, a question that's going to change your life. A question that's always been bothering you. A question that, you know what, maybe it doesn't bother you, but you still want to know the answer because it matters to you. Ask those types of questions, because those types of questions are general questions. The general questions, they're questions that have to do with your day-to-day. And again, you want to continue asking questions that don't matter to you, I personally think you're wasting your time. But you want to continue doing it, you're more than welcome to do. We don't have any barriers, but again, make sure it's a real question and not some type of riddle that I have to, start taking pen and paper, try to figure it out. Have some questions, B'ezrat Hashem, and also realize that there's other people here. So when you ask a question that's meaningless to you and to everybody else, you lose out in both ways. One, you asked the question, you got your opportunity, but in reality you didn't gain anything out of it. Second way you lose is no one else gains anything out of it, because they didn't learn anything out of it either. But if you ask a general question, like for example, why does Hashem care about modesty? Why does he care about what we wear? Why? Why does he care? Why? He has a clothing store, he's trying to make some extra money? Why does he care? That's a question. That's a general question that affects every single person in the room, the boys and the girls, young and old. That's a general question that affects everybody else. Now, why do you benefit out of such a question? You benefit out of that question because, number one, you're going to know once and for all for yourself, why does Hashem really care about what I wear? Why can't I just wear anything I want? Why can't I just walk around naked? What's the difference between me and a dolphin? The second reason is that because of your question, other people are going to learn, and you now merited an additional mitzvah. What mitzvah is that? Every single word that comes out of my mouth, that's Dvar Torah, that answers that question, is a mitzvah for each person that's listening to it. That mitzvah also goes to your account. So you got 1.5 million mitzvot because, just count. Let's say, for example, I spoke for 5 minutes. 5 minutes I spoke, let's say that's 1,000 words. 1,000 words, times it by 100 plus people here, Baruch Hashem. It's a lot of mitzvot. It's a lot of mitzvot. What'd you do? Nothing. You asked the question. Who doesn't want to go with an extra few thousand mitzvot home? Same price. So, Bechavod, please, who wants to ask the first question? Chavod.
How do you know if your tshuva is proper and sufficient?
How do you know if your tshuva is proper and sufficient? It's a good question. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us in Sefer Dvarim that the mitzvah of tshuva, meaning that this mitzvah of tshuva, of changing our ways, stopping the sins, and doing the right thing, he says it in the Torah, meaning this is not a suggestion, this is a mitzvah from the Torah, just like eating kosher is, just like keeping Shabbat, just like all of the other mitzvot in the Torah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us that you have to do tshuva. Now, the Gemara says, when should I do tshuva? They ask Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, when should I do tshuva? Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says, do tshuva before you die. Do tshuva before you die. So the Talmidim of Rabbi Eliezer said, okay, but how are we going to know when we're going to die? He says, exactly. Since you don't know when you're going to die, I have a cousin that died 2 weeks ago, a week ago. He was 51. No one thought he was going to die a year ago. No one thought he was going to die a day before he died, but he died. Shem Hashem. Hashem have mercy on him. I also have another cousin that died a year and a half ago. He was 23. No one thought he was going to die, especially his parents that have $100 million. They didn't think he was going to die. No one thought he was going to die, but he died. Meaning that no one is guaranteed tomorrow, and no one is guaranteed to live for 120 years like we would like. Anybody here ever hear of a guy named Warren Buffett? You guys heard of Warren Buffett? You know, Warren Buffett is like 1,000 years old, but he says he's 90. Warren Buffett still goes to work every day, still trying to make billions and billions of dollars more, and the investments that he makes usually are 10 years, 20-year investments, meaning if he makes an investment tomorrow, when the market opens, he's not making an investment tomorrow to sell it next week. He's making an investment tomorrow to sell it maybe 20 years from now. He's assuming, even though he's 90, he's going to live in 20 years. He's assuming. Who knows he's going to live next week? So Torah tells us, you're not guaranteed tomorrow, you're not guaranteed 20 years from now, you're guaranteed right this second. Next second after, you're not guaranteed. Meaning, if you're alive this second, you're obligated to do tshuva this second. If a person takes that into account, in every moment of their life, they're contemplating in one way or another, how can I do better? How can I do whatever it is that I'm doing? How can I do it better? So let's say, for example, eating. Eating seems like a simple thing to do. But sometimes you eat and you forget to say thank you to Hashem. Forget, you ate, you didn't forget to eat. Eating, nobody ever forgets. But to say thank you to Hashem, we forgot. We forgot to say thank you before we ate, so we didn't say the blessing. We forgot to say thank you after we ate. We forgot to say Birkat HaMazon. Or somebody says, listen, is there a short version of Birkat HaMazon? 3 hours to eat, they have. 3 minutes to say Birkat HaMazon, they don't have. Why? We're not so good at the blessing part. So, if a person thinks, how could I get better at eating? One way is to start saying thank you every single time you eat, before you take a bite and after you finish eating. Second way is to make sure that when you say thank you to Hashem, whether it's before you eat or after you finish, you're thanking Hashem and not saying things because you've repeated it so many times in your head that you know by heart. So while you're doing it, you're playing with your phone. Meaning, talk to Hashem and not your phone. Have some kavanah. Have some intention when you're praying. Next thing is also, if somebody is still not eating kosher, he's eating still nevelot v'trefot. He's eating non-kosher meat, he goes to McDonald's, he goes to non-kosher restaurants, she goes to non-kosher restaurants. You should know that the Baal Tanya, the Chassid that started Chabad, Baal Tanya writes in chapter 45 of the Tanya that a person that eats non-kosher food, if they do not do tshuva and they die before they do tshuva, then their Gehenom is going to be the cold Gehenom. Not for all of their sins, just for that sin alone. There's two types of Gehenom. There's the cold one, and there's the hot one, if you will. He says for eating non-kosher food, it's the cold one. Meaning, when somebody thinks about such a thing, who wants to go to Gehenom? I want to go to Gan Eden. I want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to Gehenom. Who wants to go to such a place? So, you should listen to the Chassid Chabad. The Baal Tanya says, eat kosher food. So if you're going to do tshuva every single day, and you're going to contemplate, how can I do better at every single thing that I'm doing? I just prayed. Next time, can I do it better? Can I pray better next time? You just learned a nice hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Can I do better learning? You know, I learned today for 2 hours, but in reality it was 2 minutes. Sometimes somebody opens the book, they're with their friends. Yalla guys, let's learn. The book is in front of them, but Hashem is not. Why? Hashem left. Because they're chit-chatting about baseball, about basketball. The Sefer Torah is in front of them, it's open, but they're not talking Torah. They're talking nonsense. So how can you make that better? Simple. Next time the book is open, only talk about the book. Talk about what it says in the Torah. Don't talk about what he did last night, and what she did last night, and where you're going for the weekend, and what is your family vacation, and what did you eat for lunch, and what do you want for lunch. Who cares about that stuff? Torah is open in front of you. So even the learning that people do sometimes is a waste of time because they do not take tshuva into account. If you take tshuva into every single step of your life, you are for sure going to be a fantastic Baal tshuva. Something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Shamayim is dancing over. He's like, look at my son. Look at my daughter. How everything she does, she thinks about me. But not she thinks about me just to say thank you. She thinks about me of how could I do even better? How could I do even a better job for Hashem? How could I do even better job? If anybody could be so kind, take one chair and give it to the nice lady over there. That'd be so kind. Thank you. School and mitzvot. So, the point is, Rabotai, is that if you simply pay attention, just pay attention to your life, pay attention to what you're doing in life, you will find that every single thing that you do can be done better. Everything. Even working. You know how many people steal at work? You know how many people steal at work without even knowing that they're stealing? I'm not talking about the people that are taking cash out of the... That's obviously. You don't need to be a genie. You don't need a shoe to offer that. I'm talking about people who steal. Why? They go to work. The guy's paying them to work, right? Anybody here ever go to work but the guy says you don't have to work? Nobody, right? Anybody here is going to start a business, tell people, listen, I'm going to pay you not to work? No, right? So sometimes people go to work and they expect to get money. What happens? They're supposed to work 9 to 5. They're supposed to work 9 to 5. But they figure, you know what? The boss is not paying attention. The manager just went on lunch. The colleague over here, he doesn't really care what I do. So what do? They start playing with their phone. Start going on Facebook. Start going on Facebook. Oh, wow, look what he ate for lunch. Maybe I'll have that too. Oh, look what she did this weekend. Maybe I'm going to do that also. They start playing on Facebook for an hour and a half. Then after they finish, they get bored of Facebook, they go on Twitter. Donald Trump just said he's going to bomb Iran. Wow, Donnie. Good job, Donnie. Then he's going to go for somebody else. He's playing with Twitter. After he's bored with Twitter for 15, 20 minutes, he's like, what could I do else? You know what? That guy at the Beit Knesset told me that if I could do something, if I could actually make the call for him, he's going to pay me $20. You know what? I'm going to make that call for him. It's only 5-10 minutes. My boss is on lunch. So he makes the call for his friend to do such and such for his friend at the shul. Oh, and he calls his friend. Hey, listen, I did it for you. You're going to give me $20 today. Yeah. What'd you do? You just use your boss's time that he's paying you to go work for somebody else. That's 100% stealing. 100% stealing. You have to understand. If you work for somebody a certain allotted of time, you work for them. Now, sometimes certain companies don't necessarily care about every detail that you do. So, for example, they're going to tell you, listen, as long as you do your job, I don't really care how you do it. As long as you do your job. So if you want to do your job while you're listening to headphones, listen to headphones. I don't really care. So if you want to listen to your headphones to Shiur Torah, no problem. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that you listen to Shiur Torah, as long as you get your job done. But if, as a result of you listening to even a Shiur Torah that's a mitzvah, you end up not working, then guess what? That Shiur Torah is not even a mitzvah anymore. That's stealing. Meaning, first, if you're working, first priority is the job. First priority is the job. If the boss allows you to do other things while you do it, no problem. But if the boss is not paying you to do the other things, and it's disturbing the job, then guess what? It's stealing. It's called gezel. So, if somebody pays attention to how they work, simply how they work, 90% of people will change their job. Why? Because the conditions that they have now versus the conditions that the guy's paying them for are two different things. Two different things. That's why, Rabotai, we have to pay attention to our actions. And if you pay attention to your actions, for sure you're going to be a fantastic human being, a fantastic neshama with eternity of Gan Eden, of heaven. And that's what we all want. Chabad. Gnevat Da'at is in literal terms, it means you stole somebody else's mind. You stole somebody else's mind. So obviously you can't go into your mind and steal it. So there's several different opinions, several different ways that you could explain it. So for example, something that is very common in business today is false advertisement. False advertisement. When I was a kid, 17 years old, 16 years old, century ago, they had a lot of Jewish people got into the electronics business. And the way that people made money in the electronics business is that they would advertise one thing. Let's say, for example, let's call it a computer. And they'd advertise the computer, that in reality, in every other store, this computer and these specs is worth $2,000-$3,000. But they'd advertise it for $400. They'd advertise for $400. Now, obviously, people come, want to buy this $3,000 machine for $400. The company's going to go out of business in a week. Why? Because they're going to lose $2,600 on every machine. 1,000 people buy it. That's millions of dollars. So what? Obviously, they're not going to sell them the $3,000 machine for $400. They're not going to do it. So what are they going to do? The trick was something called bait and switch, which is that they bait people by a fake product, by telling them this $3,000 machine is $400. On Sunday morning, when everybody got their papers, they all show up to the store at the same time. So you see the store literally with lines around the block a few times. Hundreds and hundreds of people wanting to buy this machine, because some of them are saying, even if I don't need it, even if I don't need this machine, I'll buy 10 of them. I'll buy 10 of them and just resell them for $3,000. Sell them for $1,000. I can make a ton of money. Thousands of people would line up, and all one after another say, oh yeah, I want to buy this computer. So the guy says, oh, what kind of computer? And then he goes into all types of tricks to switch them into something else. The bait is to get them into the store, and then once they got to the store, the job of the salesman is to switch them to a much more expensive product. Sometimes that's better, sometimes it's actually inferior. Sometimes it's not as good, but still for more money. So that's one way that Gnevat Da'at works, that you are in essence false advertising. There are other ways that you can do it, but that's probably the most practical way that you can steal somebody else's mind, because he was under the perception that you promised something that you can deliver, and in reality you weren't able to deliver. There are also other aspects of Gnevat Da'at, but that's one practical business term that I think applies even till today. Because in today's world, for whatever reason or another, it's become very common for people to accept cheating and stealing as if it's normal. A lot of people in business today think that the only way to get ahead in the business world is if you kill everybody in sight. If you cheat everyone, you steal from everyone, and pretty much as long as you don't get caught, it's okay. As long as you don't get caught, it's okay. But that's a problem. Why is it a problem? Because Shlomo HaMelech tells us there's an eye that's watching, there's an ear that's listening, and every single thing that you do is being written down. By who? By HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when the time comes and that neshama goes up to Shamayim, Hashem is going to show a person a movie of every single thing they did in their life. And that's going to be one of the most torturous things that they could experience. We're talking before Gehenom. Why? Because what happens is a person is shown everything they did, all the people they lied to, all the people they cheated, and then the person is shown this. He's embarrassed enough that Hashem caught him. But that's not enough. Hashem brings those other neshamot, the people he cheated, the people she lied to. He brings their neshamot to watch. And then all those neshamot and say, why'd you lie to me? Why'd you do this to me? Why did you do this? Why? Imagine the embarrassment. Chazal tell us the embarrassment during that time is so bad that the neshama itself asks Hashem, please put me in Gehenom. Put me in the fire. The fire is better than this horrible embarrassment. That's how horrible the embarrassment is on Judgment Day. Next question. Yes?
What's the point of dreams? Like, why do we dream?
It's a good question. Gemara Masechet Brachot. You guys remind me when I was a kid. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Gemara Masechet Brachot says a dream can be, not always, but can be 1/60th of prophecy. What's prophecy? There are several aspects of prophecy, but one aspect of prophecy is that it's talking to God, meaning it's knowing a little bit of a secret that God is trying to tell you about something that's happening or could happen in the future. So dreams can be a way that Hashem will communicate to you to tell you about something that could potentially happen in the future, either to warn you about it, or to make you happy about it. So the Shulchan Aruch says there's a certain dream. Most dreams are complete nonsense. Most dreams are just a figment of your imagination. You went to the zoo, you saw an elephant, then later on you had a hot dog, and for lunch, and then later on you read a book. So you went to sleep and you dreamt that the book is eating a hot dog, but it has an elephant head on it. That's just a figment of your imagination. There's nothing there. Most dreams are complete nonsense. But sometimes dreams do mean something. And the Gemara says that they have to follow a certain pattern. If you have a recurring dream, you have the same exact dream multiple times. Chabad, right here, there's chairs. Chabad, please. Baruch HaBa. If you're having a recurring dream, then that's a dream to pay attention to. If you had a one-time dream, more times than not, it's complete nonsense. But if you have a recurring dream, it's something that you dreamt. Let's say, for example, you dreamt of chas v'shalom, lo aleinu, lo alechem, dreamt of a car accident. Nothing. Doesn't mean anything. It just means maybe you have anxiety about your driving skills. But now, if you had that same dream 2 or 3 times, that's something to pay attention to. You have to go to a Talmid Chacham and ask that Talmid Chacham that you know, and you know that Talmid Chacham cares about you, to tell you, what does this dream mean? Talmid Chacham is somebody who learns Torah all the time. Not just somebody who learns Torah once in a blue moon. Somebody who knows Torah. But also should be somebody that cares about you. Because the Gemara says, if that person cares about you, and he's a Talmid Chacham, he will give you positive translation of that dream, which also has an effect on the dream itself. But if you have a certain type of dream, the Shulchan Aruch says that's called a dangerous dream. There's a type of dream that's called dangerous. What's a dangerous dream? If you dream that you lost all your teeth. Sometimes people have this dream. I already know a couple of people that had this dream. And one of my students actually heard this. I said this in a different lecture. Maybe it was with you guys, maybe with somebody else. And I said, the Shulchan Aruch says, if you had a dream that you lost all your teeth, Shulchan Aruch says you have to fast. You have to fast the next day. Really serious fast. No eating, no drinking. Why? It's a very bad sign from heaven that somebody could potentially die, including Chas v'Shalom, the person himself. It's a sign that that person needs to do some serious tshuva, some serious act of kedusha in order to undo this dream. One of my students saw me saying this, heard me say this in a different shiur, and says, I can't believe it. I had a dream a year ago that my teeth fell, but I didn't think much of it. I didn't think much of it. He says a week later, one of his family members died. Rabotai, dreams have a meaning sometimes. Last but not least, about dreams, is that dreams are one of the ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you joy in this world. Because dreams, when they're good, they're enjoyable. Now, do you dream that you fly? It's cool to fly. Because you feel like it's real. It's a dream. In the dream, it's real. So it's cool to fly. It's cool to do all types of things. So dreams are a way for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you some type of joy, so much so that if you do not dream for an extended period of time, I believe it's 40 days, then you should take some action to do tshuva. Why? Because that means that there's a kitrug, there's a case against you in heaven where Hashem is lowering your joy. Last but not least, I'm sorry I forgot, dreams is also a way for the Satan's wife to make guys lose their Olam HaBa. How so? The Satan's wife is so powerful, she's more powerful than him, that we're not allowed to say her name. If you know it, keep it to yourself, please. If you don't know it, it's better you don't know it. Because if you say her name, you're inviting her over. Now, the problem is that when she comes into your dream, she doesn't look like the Satan's wife. She looks like somebody you like. She looks like somebody you want to like. And she wants to do everything rotten in your mind in order to get you to waste seed. Now, when a guy wastes seed in his dream, even though it's not an intentional sin like he did it when he was awake, nonetheless, it is still considered a sin. Where do we learn it from? Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says a man should be careful of the things that he sees in the morning, so evil does not come to him at night. What's evil? Gemara says, evil is the Satan's wife trying to entice him to waste seed while he's sleeping. We call it in the street language, wet dream. He wastes seed, and Rabotai Yekarim, when he's wasting seed, he is creating millions and millions of demons that are going to torture him as much as they possibly can. Not a good idea, which means that a person needs to follow a certain regiment when he's sleeping, to sleep on his left side. If he sees a woman in his dream, to make sure if he can, and he's trained himself to wake himself up, even if the woman in his dream is his wife, it's still not his wife, it's always the Satan's wife. Point being, Rabotai, the dreams have a lot of meaning. A lot of meaning. We actually can speak hours about dreams, but this gives you a little bit of a synopsis of what they are. Chava, next question. Yes?
Before Shlomo HaMelech, was there a prayer similar to Kriyat Shema?
Kriyat Shema is from the Torah.
And what about the part where it's like Shani Shlomo Shishim Divurim Saviv Klau?
Oh no, that's Shema Lamita. That's Shema Lamita. The Kriyat Shema itself is our verses from the Torah itself, originally from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, Shema Yisrael. Yaakov Avinu, Shema Yisrael. Then later on in the Torah it's mentioned again as the commandment for us to say Shema Yisrael every day. Men are obligated to say Shema Yisrael no less than twice per day. One in the morning during Shachrit, one at night during Arvit. They should also say Shema Yisrael before they go to sleep. That's called Shema Lamita. And women are obligated to say Shema Yisrael at least once per day at no particular time. They don't have to do it in the morning, they don't have to do it at night, they just have to do it at some point. Just like they have to pray Amidah once per day as well. But they should also say Shema Lamita. What's Shema Lamita? Shema Lamita is saying Shema Yisrael and reading a nusach, a certain regimen of prayer that compiles some things from Shlomo HaMelech, some things from David HaMelech, and so on. Compiles these prayers along with the Shema Yisrael. Why do you say it? Because as we said, you're going to fall asleep. When you fall asleep, you lose control of a lot of things. And the Gemara says that when a person falls asleep, it's partial death. It's 1/60th of death. And during that time, that neshama gets to see things it cannot see in this world. If it wants protection from some of those things that are not good, you should read Shema Yisrael before you go to sleep. Why? Because then, if you read Shema Yisrael before you go to sleep, then if you say it with kavanah, not just say it like a robot, say it with kavanah, with real meaning, then you're going to get yourself protection during your dreams even. During your dreams even, so the Satan's wife doesn't show up in your dream, that no one shows up in your dream, and even if you have night terrors or nightmares, Shema Yisrael protects you from those things. So Shema Yisrael is definitely a obligation for all Jews, but as far as Shema Lamita, that's the third. In the level of, let's say, significance, there's the obligation for men, like I said, morning and night, women once a day, regardless of when it is, but then there's the Shema Lamita, which is to say Shema Yisrael before you go to sleep. If you're extraordinarily tired, like sometimes happens to me, and you're so tired that you know you're not going to be able to read the entire Shema Yisrael Al-Maita. Like the Shema Yisrael itself is relatively short, but the Shema Lamita is kind of long. It's kind of long. If you're just one of those times where pretty much you know that there's just no way you're going to survive with this prayer, at the very least, do the Shema Yisrael, minimum. Don't make this that this is the standard. You should do more, because the more you do, the more protection you have. Shlomo HaMelech, because he was afraid of what would happen to him during his dream, he literally had guards surrounding his bed, like it says in a song. He had guards surrounding his bed. That's how dangerous dreams can be for some people that are very, very holy. So much so that his father, David HaMelech, never slept more than 15 minutes. Never slept more than 15 minutes consecutively. It's not necessarily because he didn't want to sleep. It's because he was so scared of what would happen if he slept for an extended period of time, Chazal says. The Gaon Vilna also. A lot of the tzaddikim sleep for very, very short periods of time, not just because they want to be productive during the day, but also because they don't want to lose control of themselves, their bodies, for an extended period of times and be subject to what could potentially happen. Don't worry, this is not going to be a problem for you. We're not Shlomo HaMelech, but nonetheless, we do need to do Shema Yisrael before we go to sleep. Next question. Chava in a black shirt.
Would you be able to list all the sons of Jacob, and if so, can you list them?
All of the sons of Jacob? This is like one of those questions that I said not to ask, isn't it? How's it going to help you? You can read it from Sefer Bereshit. You can repeat it from Sefer Bereshit. You have the 12 Shvatim. It's not a productive question. Let's ask another question. No, come on. Even if I give it to you, what does it do to you? It just shows you have a high IQ or a good memory. What is it going to do for you? All I can tell you is that Shimon and Levi, I'll give you a different question. I'll give you 2 for 1. Shimon and Levi were Kodesh Kodeshim. But one time, Shimon and Levi heard something bad. What they heard? They were Kodesh Kodeshim. Talmidei Chachamim learned Torah all day. But they heard that their sister Dinah, she went outside to just see what the other girls were doing. Not her sisters, not her cousins. What the Goyot were doing. She went to the mall. She wanted to see what they were doing. What are they shopping for? So some guy named Chamo, which also means donkey, decided he likes her. But he doesn't care if she likes him back, and he raped her. This Rabotai Yekarim, his name Chamo, Bemet Chamo. But Rabotai Yekarim, this is one of the saddest stories in the history of mankind. Why is it so sad? Why is it so sad? Not because she gave birth. Think about it. This is in a parasha. This is in a Torah. It's not like a midrash that some people know, some people don't know. No. This is in a Torah. We read this every year. At least once. That means that every kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, for the rest of eternity is going to know this parasha at least once a year. That means that every adult that goes to Beit Knesset, that learns Torah a little bit, is going to read this parasha at least once a year. That means that in Olam HaBa, for eternity, they read this at least once a year. That means that everybody in the world, forever, is always going to know what happened. So imagine this. Imagine the biggest rabbi in the world, biggest rabbi, most famous person in the world, his daughter got raped. That's already bad enough, right? I mean, just the girls are thinking about this, they want to vomit right now. You guys don't understand what it means because you're normal. Baruch Hashem, the girls, they're thinking, what? Somebody touch me, I don't want them to touch me. I want to kill the guy. I want to kill the guy in the story also. But the reality is, Rabotai Yekarim, it happened. It happened. Now, after it happened, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to put it in the Torah. He decided to put it in the Torah, which means that for the rest of eternity, it has to be publicized that she got raped. What does that mean? Imagine the biggest, most famous rabbi in the world, his daughter gets raped. That's already a Shem Yachim. Then, it's in a newspaper. How much embarrassment is it giving him? How much embarrassment is it giving Dina? How embarrassed is she that it's in a newspaper? Not only she got raped, it's in a newspaper. Imagine it's not in a newspaper, it's on the internet too. Ooh, not only on the internet, it's on TV. A whole special on CNN, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram. CNN does a special, Yaakov Avinu's daughter Dina got raped. Hashem Yirachem. You want to cry? Guess what? That's not enough. They do an annual special of Maaseh Dina. What happened with Dina? You listen to this, you want to cry. You want to die for her. You want to die for her. And this is for eternity. Special program for 6-year-olds. Special program for 8-year-olds. Special program for 10-year-olds. Special program for 15-year-olds. What are we going to learn on today? We're going to learn how Dinah got raped. Hashem Yirachem. Horrible, right? Now, on one end for her is good news. What's the good news? Anyone that learns the story, especially the ladies, will protect herself and never allow any human being to touch her unless he's her husband. And even that with permission only. Any girl that learns the details of that story will protect herself from ever allowing any person to touch her, including her husband, because of how disgusting and despicable it is. So for Dinah is benefiting from that story. Even though it's embarrassing, she's helping countless people do TeShuvah and for eternity because of what happened to her. On one end it's good. On one end it's good. But on another end, Rabotai Yekarim, we have to find out, why did it happen to Dinah? What did she do that was so bad? What did she worship an idol? What did she rob a bank? What did she murder some people? No. What did she do? She went to see what the non-Jewish girls were doing. She went to the mall. And Hashem punished her severely. Why? To tell us 4,000 years later, Abat Israel does not belong among the people that are not part of Israel. You are not supposed to even desire what they're doing. Why? You are the daughter of God. Not the daughter of Joe Schmo. You're the daughter of God. That means you are a princess. You do not belong with everyone else, whether you like it or not. So to go and even be interested in what the other people are doing, that means that you have some type of screw missing in your ideology. And unfortunately today, many of us have missing screws, because we do not see ourselves as the sons and daughters of God. We think that we're just Joe and Steve and Yaakov and David. We're just me. No, my friend. You're the daughter of God, the King of Kings. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than you in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world just for you. Not for all of you, for you individually. For you individually. Every Jew has to wake up in the morning and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the whole world for me. It's not a matter of arrogance. It's a matter of responsibility. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the whole world just for me, that means He cares about me. That means that I have to do something. I have to do something about it. That means that I cannot act like everybody else. I cannot wear a mini skirt because all my girlfriends are wearing mini skirts. I have to dress like the king's daughter. I cannot wear a tank top because I'm hot, because everybody else that's hot thinks that a tank top's going to help them. By the way, tank tops don't make you less hot. You're still hot. You're still hot with or without the tank top. The reality is, Rabotai, is a Bat Israel that respects herself, treats herself that way. Not says, no, give me respect. Saying give me respect means nothing. Saying give me respect just means that you know how to speak. Doesn't mean that you know what it actually means. Respect is something that you earn simply by how you behave, without words. How you behave, how you carry yourself. What kind of words do you choose? What kind of clothes do you choose? You're never going to see the Queen of England wearing a bikini. Never. Never going to see the Queen of England. She's not even Jewish. You're never going to see the Queen of England walking around with a tank top. Never. Never. You're never going to see her walk around with a V-neck. Never. It's never going to happen. Why? Because she views herself as a queen. She views herself as a queen. You know what's the funny thing is? All of you really are queens. She just pretends to be. All of you really are. The guys are kings. But Rabotai, are we treating ourselves as such? Now here's the thing. Why is Dinah's story in the Torah? Not only to remind us of who and what we are, but even more importantly, to know that everything you do is written in a book. It's written in a Sefer Torah, not this one. The one that's for eternity beyond this one, the one that you don't see. Which means that whatever you do in your life, that boyfriend that you like before you got married, that girlfriend that you like before you got married, that mini skirt that's on a discount and you figure maybe I'll only wear it once, and that dress that's a little too tight and you know you're not allowed to wear it because you're a Jew, and so on and so forth, that's written in a book. That's written in a book, Rabotai. Before you stole that money, it wasn't written in a book. After you stole the money, it's written in a book. And it's going to be repeated to you and to everybody else for eternity. Who wants such embarrassment to be repeated for eternity? That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu said, I put this story in the Torah. Why? To remind you that even if you did it until now, you dressed inappropriately, you ate inappropriately, you acted inappropriately, you should know there is TeShuvah. You can stop now. Stop with the nonsense now. Fix yourself. Get a new wardrobe. Get a new behavior habits, and so on and so forth. Start learning Torah, and let's move forward. Why? Because if your TeShuvah is real, it could literally delete all of your sins from the past and make everything as pure and as beautiful as you want it to be for eternity. Now, what would you prefer? Them talking about all of your mitzvot for eternity? All of the nasty, ugly stuff that's supposed to be censored? Who wants their sins to be repeated for eternity? Raise your hand. Who wants their mitzvot to be repeated and publicized? Raise your hand. Baruch Hashem, you're all normal. You all picked the right choice. That's what we got to do, more mitzvot and less averot. Less sins. I promise you it's not that hard. It's only hard for the first 70 years. After that, it's easy. It's only hard for the first 7 years. After that, it's easy. Piece of cake. No, but Be'emet, it really, really isn't that difficult. Either way you wear clothes, just put the sleeves on. Either way you wear clothes, guys, just make sure they're not so tight that your heart's coming out of your pants. In this generation, for some reason, they decided to make a new style of skinny jeans to torture yourself. Guys wearing jeans, but the heart falls on the floor because of how tight it is. I have no idea. How do you wear this stuff? Be'emet, seriously, I have to ask you guys. How do you wear that? How is it so comfortable? Be'emet, we're men. You have to act like men. You have to act like Kadosh Baruch Hu's sons. Dress like men. Not like these Shem Achem people. We have to act like men. We have to dress like them too. Bnot Israel, please, I beg you, please consider taking on a mitzvah of modesty. If you don't have money to buy clothes, I'll go beg, borrow, and steal to buy you clothes. I'm serious, I'm not joking. If you don't have money to buy a new wardrobe, I'll go beg in the streets and buy you clothes if that's what it's going to take. That's how important for you to be modest. Why? I don't want it to be repeated for eternity that you walked around with a miniskirt. I feel embarrassed because you're my sister. You understand? So if you don't have the money to go buy new clothes, I'll go borrow and get you clothes. Bemet, in reality, most people have money, but if you don't, I'll go get it. Just change. It's worth it. Why? Because for eternity, you're not going to want the tank top to be shown in a movie screen for billions of people to watch. Next question. See, it was a fantastic question after all. Chavod. Yes, yes. Same price.
So, if you had a dream,
Okay.
and it was a really bad one,
Yes.
and the next day you died, does that mean a dimmer?
No. It's a good question. Question: if somebody had a dream and it was a bad dream and the next day they died, is it a dibuk? Okay, so if somebody had a dream, yes, he said if somebody had a dream that was a bad dream, and the next day that person died, is that considered a dibuk? So you're combining two different things, and I'll explain what everything means. I'll explain. Don't worry. So, first and foremost, a dibuk is a Kabbalistic term. It's also in the Gemara. Chazal talk about it. It's not as common today as it was, say, 50, 100, 200 years ago, and even more so before that. Rabbi Yehuda Alav Shalom, one of the Chachamim, has a whole book written about his conversations with dibukim. What are dibukim? Dibukim are wicked neshamot that already left this world, that enter into a human being that's living still here. So imagine, chas v'shalom, a person is living, everything's okay. Next thing you know, he loses his mind and he starts talking like a woman. Not because he wants to. A different voice comes out of his throat. So now he's talking one voice, 2 seconds later he's speaking in a different language, different voice, saying different things, and so on and so forth. When things like this happen, that could be, not always, but that could be something called a dibuk, because that spirit, that neshama, came into the person, infiltrated that person, and took control. Now, in the previous generations, when it was more common, there were also chachamim that were able to take those neshamot out. And the reason why you want to take them out is because those neshamot hurt the person that's there. They take control over the body and so on. They made fake movies about it, like The Exorcist and things like that. But nonetheless, this is definitely a real thing in Torah, in Judaism, in the world in general. It's relevant both to Jews and non-Jews. Some Chachamim even say that many of the people that are in the crazy house, the people that have lost their mind, that they're not people that have lost their mind, but literally are people that have two neshamot in one body. So that's what a dibuk is. In a previous generation, we had people that were experts in it, that were able to take those things out. It's not easy, and it's not a 1, 2, 3 process, and it could even kill the person. To take that neshama out is not like taking out a hair out of a milk. It could even kill the person, so it has to be an expert and so on. But it's not common anymore. Baruch Hashem, it's not common, and that's part of the reason is because we don't have many, if anybody at all in the world, that could actually even deal with these things. Now, so that doesn't have to do with a person dying, meaning from a dream. A person dies from a dream simply means that, he had a bad dream, he died, Hashem gave him a sign, apparently he did not get the message, and Hashem decided that his time is up. So usually things don't work that way. It's usually not that fast. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, if he's giving you a sign in your dream, it's usually a message for you to do something about. He's not going to give you a sign like dead end, boom. That's not a sign. There's no point of giving you a sign. Everything that a Kadosh Baruch Hu does has to have a purpose. So if he's giving you a sign of some kind of sign, it's usually in order to give you the idea to do something about this sign. But to just give you a bad dream and then kill you, that's more like a movie. It's not like reality. It's not like Hashem. Hashem is merciful. Hashem is merciful, and He gives us non-stop signs that we could do something about if we simply pay attention to Him. Chava, next question. Yes.
Dreams are so important, why do we forget them?
I can't hear what you said.
Dreams are so important, why do we forget them?
If dreams are so important, why do we forget them? Is that the question? Okay. So, like I said, most dreams, and by most, I mean an overwhelming majority of, like 99.9% of dreams are simply nonsense. The Gemara Masechet Brachot says that are simply a culmination of all of the things that you see in your life. So you went to the zoo and you had a dream about a guy with an elephant head. That does not mean that you're going to meet some guy with an elephant head. That just means that your imagination developed from something you saw in real life with something else that you saw in your real life that could have been that week, that month, that year, or even 20 years from now. So most dreams are that. Most dreams are simply nonsense. Some dreams are meaningful, but they are very rare. They are very rare. The primary thing for dreams is for joy, meaning that have a good dream, have a dream that's relatively enjoyable. That's a way for Hashem to give you some joy in this world, but it's not usually to give you a prophecy. It's only rarely that way. Next question, yes?
Where does it say that we have to wear a kippah for men? And two-part questions of it is, if I'm not religious, should I still put it on?
So where does it say in the Torah that we have to put kippah for men? And if I'm not religious, should I put a kippah on? Two questions. Gemara Masechet Shabbat says that one of the Tanaim, his mom wanted him to learn that fear of Hashem is not something that's a suggestion. It's not an advice. It's an obligation. And she wanted him to have a constant reminder that he needs to fear Hashem. So she said, you cover your hair, cover your head, in order to remind yourself constantly that there's something above you. That's one of the many sources that we see in the oral Torah, that a person needs to constantly be reminded that they are under Hashem in order to fear Him. And from there, many of the Chachamim use this as the primary source for where we learn to cover our head. It's not a biblical mitzvah like Shabbat or like Kashrut or anything like that. It's a rabbinical mitzvah, but nonetheless, it has a lot of sources in the Torah that tell us that this has very big significance. Now, this leads us to the next question: is if I'm not religious, does that mean that I should wear it or shouldn't wear it? Well, that all depends. How many people here want to go to Gehenom? Raise your hand. How many people here want to go to heaven forever? Raise your hand. Baruch Hashem, you guys are still normal. So, in order to go to heaven, Ishtabach Shemo La'ad, and be walking with a Kadosh Baruch Hu, one of the obligations is to follow what He says. To follow what He says. Meaning, it's not a matter of being religious or not religious. That's just simply the way you could describe certain things. If you want to go to heaven, there's only one ticket. That means you have to follow what Hashem says. You can call it religious, you can call it Pikachu, you can call it math and science, you can call it whatever you want. We call it being observant of what Hashem says. If you're observant with what Hashem says, you will go to heaven forever. If you're not, you have a very serious permanent problem. Very serious permanent problem. So, if a person is not ready yet to follow everything because he still or she still thinks she has an option. Like some people think like, oh, maybe I'm not ready to keep all of Shabbat, but I'll keep half of Shabbat. I'll keep half of Shabbat. I won't drive on Shabbat, I'll only smoke a cigarette on Shabbat. I won't smoke a whole pack on Shabbat, I'll only smoke 2 cigarettes on Shabbat. Now, even though, as leaders, as people that know a little bit of Torah, we are always trying to encourage people to make less sins, that by itself is not going to get you to heaven. Don't be fooled. Whether you smoke 100 cigarettes on Shabbat or 1 cigarette, it's still fire on Shabbat. Whether you drive your car 3 miles or 3,000 miles on Shabbat, it's still driving on Shabbat. It's still fire on Shabbat. Just one is more than the other. what is it like if somebody told you, I want some advice. I want to slow down in my career. Well, what do? You're going to ask him. He says, I work for the mob. Oh, what do you do for the mob? You do accounting? You cook the books? No, I don't do accounting. What do you do? I cook people. I cook people. What do you mean you cook people? So, what? I have a job. Every month, I have a metric to reach. What's the metric? I have to kill 10 people a month. 25,000 a person, 10 people. It's good living, no? But I want to slow down because I feel bad. I feel bad. I want to comply with Hashem's rules. Oh, so what are you going to stop? No, I can't stop. I mean, it's 10 people a month. It's a lot of money. So what I'm going to do, I'm only going to kill one person a month. I'm only going to kill one person a month. Is that person still a murderer or he's a nice guy? Because he's killing 9 less people. Everybody agrees he's still a murderer? Why? Because he's still killing somebody, right? Whether he kills 1 or he kills 10, he's still killing. And Torah says in the 10 Commandments, don't kill anybody, right? Don't murder. So you see, Rabotai, Torah also says in the same 10 Commandments, before do not murder, it says don't drive on Shabbat. It says don't use your computer on Shabbat. It says don't smoke cigarettes on Shabbat. It also says that. Which means that even if you smoke only 1 cigarette on Shabbat, or only drive down the block on Shabbat, it's still driving. So yes, it's less, and hopefully it eventually gets to 0. But don't think that simply making less sins is going to make the sins you make okay. It's never okay. We have to train ourselves and work on ourselves to stop. Stop being murderers of ourselves, of our own neshama. Which means that if a person is not ready to have the highest level of fear of Hashem, at least he should do something to get himself there. If somebody wants to get himself into better shape, they're going to work out. And they know they can't work out a week and become a bodybuilder. It's going to take time. So what are they going to do? They're going to start small. They're going to start with 5-pound weights. And hopefully later on 10 pounds. And hopefully later on 25 pounds. And maybe down the road 100 pounds. And so on and so forth. So a guy that doesn't have a lot of Yirat Shamayim and is not ready to keep all of the mitzvot, he knows what's true. He's just not ready to accept all of it. Because he has a lot of desires. You know what? If you can wear a kippah, wear it. Why? Because that at least reminds you of where you need to go. Where you need to go. Whether you make a sin with a kippah or without a kippah, doesn't make a difference. Don't let anybody fool you. Say, no, if I make a sin with a kippah on, it's much worse. Complete nonsense. If 10 Jews see you sin, Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says, it's considered a Chilul Hashem, with or without the kippah. In fact, even if 10 Jews don't see you, but they know you drive on Shabbat, it's still considered a public sin. It's still considered Chilul Hashem. Last but not least, if you yourself have decided, I'm going to sin. Not that you're publicizing to the rest of the world, you just decide, this mitzvah, this Shabbat, it's not for me. It's also Chilul Hashem, with or without the kippah. So at least, with the kippah, it's like a reminder. You know, like sometimes you use Post-its, you put them on the fridge, you put them on the desk to remind yourself of stuff. A kippah is to remind yourself of stuff. To remind yourself that God runs the world. Same thing for ladies. If you're married, you have kisui rosh. Aside from it being a mitzvah to cover your hair for modesty, it's also a reminder for you that Hashem runs the world. Same thing with a wardrobe. You have a wardrobe and you see your wardrobe looks different than everybody else's. Why? Because it covers your whole body. You didn't buy only half the dress, you bought the whole dress. Same price, by the way. But that's a reminder. What's a reminder? It's a reminder that Kadosh Baruch Hu is watching you. Even though you can't do the whole Torah overnight. You're not Tzara Yimenu overnight, but the clothes remind you that Hashem is watching you. And if Hashem is watching you, how can you walk around half naked? If Hashem is watching you, how can you continue stealing? If Hashem is watching you, how can you continue cursing and yelling and being unethical? How? How can you do it? At least not on a regular basis. Once in a while we fall. Everybody falls. But we can't make it our day-to-day behavior. Next question. Yes, red shirt.
So why did God make a world with like challenges and like imperfections? Why didn't He just make a perfect world?
So now, if somebody wants to succeed in life, they know that in order to succeed, you have to overcome obstacles. In order to succeed, you have to overcome obstacles. If, let's say, as soon as you were born, as soon as everybody was born, $1 billion was deposited into their bank. Imagine a world where as soon as you were born, $1 billion was deposited into your bank. And as soon as he was born, $1 billion into his bank. As soon as he was born, $1 billion in his bank. So far, it sounds good. You could spend that $1 billion. But if $1 billion was deposited into everybody's bank, how much is the $1 billion worth now? Zero. It means nothing. It's worthless. Why? Because there's no struggle to get it. It's just given to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to get something, to earn something. In order for us to understand its value, in order for what we get to have a value, it has to be difficult. There has to be pressure. Somebody came to Rav Shbadron, alav shalom, one time. He told him, Kvod Rav, I can't go to the Shiur Torah this week. And Rav Shbadron said to him, how come you can't come to the Shiur? He says, there's a kaduregel. There's a match of kaduregel. He goes, what's kaduregel? He goes, soccer. He goes, no, what's soccer? He goes, there's a team, 2 teams, and they shoot the ball to win. He goes, well, how do they win? He goes, 11 on one side, there's 11 on the other side, and then there's a ball, and they shoot the ball to put it in a goal. He's like, you don't know, Rabbi? He goes, no, I never heard of soccer, never heard of kaduregel. I know Torah. You want to ask Torah? I know Torah. He goes, okay, so what's the whole point of the game? It's for them to kick the ball and put it in the net? He says, yeah. He goes, so why don't they be nice to each other? Let him play a little bit, put it in the net. After he finishes, give it to the other guy, be nice about it. Give it to the other guy, he puts it into his net. What's the problem? He goes, no, Rabbi, that's defeats the point. Defeats the point. There has to be a goalie. He goes, for what? Tell him to get out of the way. He's not being nice. Let him shoot. He goes, no, Rabbi. If there's no goalie, if there's no 11 people trying to stop the ball from the opposite team, there's no point to the game. There's no point to the game. And Rav Shbadron says to him, your ears should listen to your foolish mouth. He says, when does a Kadosh Baruch Hu want you to go to the Shiur Torah? When there's pressure against it. If it's easy for you to go, there's no point. There's no point. If it's easy for you to do everything, there's no point. There's no value to it. When there's a goalie, when there's a malach hamavet, when there's a satan that's trying to encourage you to go against Hashem, and you decide to overcome it, that means something. That's worth something. That's a game. And that's what game we call life. Point is, Rabotai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us obstacles in this life in order for us to overcome them. Because once we overcome them, then they have a value. That value is for eternity. It's an eternity of good that we get as a result of overcoming this big obstacle. If he didn't give us any obstacles and he simply built a perfect world, then we would just be robots. Hashem doesn't have any desire for robots. It has no purpose. Robots have no purpose. You press a robot, you don't press the robot, he just does what you want. What purpose does it serve? It has no purpose. If that robot stopped being a robot and was given free choice to listen to Hashem or to refuse to listen to Hashem, and he decides to listen to Hashem, then that robot is a very, very valuable robot. And we call that a Jew. Next question, in the back. Yes. Yeah, you. Yes. Chazakah u'bucha, it's a fantastic question. If God gave us the body that we have, why is it bad to show it? Chazakah u'bucha. Now, if anybody here ever see a diamond, a real diamond? You guys saw diamonds before. You ever see $1 million diamond? Not a diamond that's like, $100 or $5,000. I'm talking $1 million diamond. Anybody here ever see $1 million diamond? Anybody ever see a $5 million diamond? Anybody here ever see $100 million diamond on the internet? Not in your life. On the internet, you ever saw the blue heart diamond? It's a blue heart diamond. It's a 500-600-year-old diamond they found, and There's a few, certain diamonds in the world, they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, if somebody gave it to you, especially the ladies in the back, somebody gave you this diamond as a gift. Your HaBa said, my daughter, happy birthday. What? Is $100 million diamond. Now let me ask you a question. Bemet, honestly, are you going to walk around with that diamond and throw it in the air like this? I want them to answer. Are you going to throw the diamond in the air? Are you going to show everybody, hey, look at my diamond! Look at my diamond! You're not going to do it, right? Why not? Why are you not going to show the diamond? I want an answer. Shh. Rabotai, I want an answer. I want an answer. Bemet, I deserve an answer. How come you're not going to show $100 million diamond in the air and show everybody, look at my diamond? How come? How come, no? You have an answer over there. You have an answer. What's the answer? How come you're not going to show the diamond? Why are you not going to show the diamond to everybody? Because it's worth so much. Right. If you show it to everybody, they're going to steal it from you. And that's not good. Right? And you don't want somebody to steal something so valuable from you. You don't want somebody to steal something so valuable from you. So what do? You protect it. You hide it. You value it. You put it in a safe. You make sure that only the right set of eyes that you choose are allowed to look at this diamond. Why? Because it's your diamond. Because your Abba gave you the diamond. Now, if you had a garbage pail full of trash that smells really bad, what do you do with it twice a week? You throw it in the garbage. Now, if somebody came to your trash on Tuesday morning and it was out and it smelled really disgusting and they decided they want to look at your trash, they decided that they wanted to play with your trash can, are you going to do anything about it? Why are you calling the cops? What do you care? What did he do to you? He's playing with your trash. So what? He's not making a mess. No, he's not making a mess. He's not throwing the trash out. He just wants to see your trash. He wants to see the baby diapers that are full of poop. He wants to see food that you already threw out. He wants to see all the disgusting stuff that you don't want to see anymore. You threw it out. You threw it out because you don't want it. If you want, why are you throwing it out? Right? So it's garbage. Somebody wants to look at your garbage. You care? Why? It's your garbage, but you threw it out. Okay, we've gone down, Rabotai. We have 2 less normal people. No, Bemet, seriously, in reality, no one cares about their garbage. Why? It's garbage. It's garbage. Now, garbage can, everybody's allowed to touch. Everybody's allowed to touch a garbage can. Everybody's allowed to look at a garbage can. Why? Because it's garbage. But a priceless $100 million diamond, only the right set of eyes are allowed to look at it. Now let me ask you a question. If you are the daughter of the King of Kings, are you worth garbage or are you worth $100 million? Your $100 million diamond, I bet you're worth a lot more to Hashem. I bet you're worth a lot more than $100 million. I bet you're worth a lot more than $100 billion. And something that's $100 billion and something that's $100 trillion is not something for everybody to see. That's why, Rabotai, even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the body, it's not for the whole world to see. Next question. Yes.
When you were talking about the dream,
yes.
and when you said when you see the Satan's wife, she makes you waste seed, the seed could lead to like millions of demons, like running up and haunting you for the rest of your life. Is there a way to like get rid of the demons?
Yes, absolutely. So, men that waste seed, yes. Men that have dreams, and due to their dreams, they end up wasting seed, or perhaps they waste seed while they're awake. Hashem Yirachem. This, unfortunately, is an epidemic in the world today, both for Jews and non-Jews, religious and non-religious. It's gone to a point where this generation does not even think it's a problem. Not physically, nor spiritually. But the Torah says otherwise. And so does the doctors. People that actually know what they're talking about. Now, when somebody wastes seed and whether they do it on purpose or they do it through a dream, which is in essence not necessarily purposeful, but nonetheless still a problem, they're creating demons. So, first and foremost, what do you do about it? What do you do about it? What do you do about these demons you've already created? So there's a few things that you can do. First and foremost, make sure that you start watching your eyes during the day. Why? Because anytime you look at immodest things during your life, during your day, it will eventually lead to dreams full of immodesty. If you look at websites that are full of tum'ah, full of impurity, you will eventually dream about those things. That night, the next week, eventually it's going to come. You watch television, you watch movies full of immodest girls, full of girls that are pretty much half naked or naked completely, you will dream about them. It's just a fact of life. If you watch your eyes, meaning you protect your eyes and don't look at anything that moves, it will help you with your dreams. Second thing is, if you say Kriyat Shema, Alamita, with real kavanah, you're also helping yourself. Most importantly, you have to learn about the topic of wasting seed. You have to understand how much of a sin it is. By learning about the topic, you're going to eventually do TeShuvah. You're going to stop sinning, and you're going to start praying for Hashem obviously to forgive you for all the mistakes that you've made, but most importantly, you're going to share that information with anybody that you know. Whether you know they are doing the sin or not is irrelevant. You're going to share it because almost every guy has this problem. Almost every girl has this problem. One directly or indirectly. Point being is that if a person wants to undo the damage that they've done, they have to do TeShuvah, they have to spread the knowledge, they have to learn about it, they have to pray about it, and they also have to learn Torah specifically for the sake of destroying these demons. If you do all of that, you'll not only destroy all of this negativity that you created, but you could even turn all the negativity into something positive. You could literally turn all the demons into angels, all of the sins into mitzvot. So we have a whole playlist on our YouTube page and also on our website called Pgam HaBRIT, or Wasting Seed. It's highly recommended for both boys and girls, because both boys and girls have an issue with this, either directly by making the sin themselves or indirectly by leading other people to sin. A girl that walks around immodest, she gives guys the thoughts of immodesty. When he ends up wasting seed, she is a partner in the crime. She's a partner in the crime, meaning he created 100 million demons, and 100 million also went to her account also. So to walk around immodest has a lot of risk. A lot of risk, because eventually somebody's going to look at you and think about you, dream about you, and Hashem and Hashem, what happens as a result of that. So you can fix all of that by learning about the topic, and then according to the learning, you change your behavior. Change your behavior, and Bezrat Hashem, you can turn all of the problems, all of the mistakes you've made into good things. Next question. Yes? Okay, it's a good question. If everything is written in the Torah, and let's say somebody's sick, why would anybody pray if it's already written in the Torah if this person is going to die or not? Right? That's the question. So the Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah says there's a few things that can change a decree. There's a few things that change a decree. There's a bad decree that came into the world, and there's a few things that can change it. One of the things is TeShuvah, meaning changing your behavior. Another thing is changing your name. And a third thing is tza'akah. What's tza'akah? Tza'akah is screaming. What do you mean screaming? Screaming to Hashem, begging Him for mercy. Praying. Praying. Why? If a person changes their name, in essence, they could potentially, if they do it the right way with a real Talmid Chacham, somebody knows what they're doing, they could potentially change the decree, because in essence, when you have another name, you get another added piece to your neshama, this should not be done under normal circumstances, and many chachamim say are against it because it's dangerous to do it and not use it. So for example, it's common in the Western world to give people a middle name. Very common in the Western world, but it's also common for people not to use the middle name. So most people call themselves by their first name, and the middle name is just something that's on their passport or their driver's license, but in reality nobody knows what it is. In Judaism, if you have a middle name, you have to use it. Meaning, if your name is Israel Meir Reuven, you have to use Israel Meir Reuven. You can't just say Israel. Why? Because your name is Israel Meir. Your first and middle name are not first. There's no such thing as middle name. That's your name. You have to use the full name. Don't shorten your name. Why? Shortening a person's name can shorten their life. Also, it's not a good idea that if your name is, let's say, Benjamin, don't tell people my name is Ben. Don't shorten your name. Shortening your name can shorten your life. If you have a name in the Torah, you have to use it, which means that if before you're going to add a name, don't add a name if you don't plan on using it on a regular basis. Second thing is if you do TeShuvah. If you do TeShuvah, you could change the decree. Why? Because the decree that happened in Shemayim that such and such, Chas v'Shalom, is going to be sick, was given to a certain person. A person that had 100 pounds worth of sins, let's say. Right? But if that person did TeShuvah, changed his mistakes, stopped violating Shabbat, stopped wasting seed, stopped this, what ends up happening? He's no longer the same person. The decree was given to a person that's full of sins. Once he did TeShuvah, he's undoing those sins. He's even turning some of those sins into mitzvot. Which means that yes, the decree was given to this person that's full of sins, but he's no longer the same person. He's a person that already did TeShuvah. That's what David HaMelech says to Hashem in Tehillim. He says, Hashem, they're lying about me. Who's lying about you, David HaMelech? He says, the angels. Why are they lying about you? They're lying about me because they say I sin. No, they're talking about somebody I used to be. I used to sin. No, now I did TeShuvah. So they're still talking about it as if I didn't do TeShuvah, but I did TeShuvah, Hashem. Meaning, Rabotai, that if a person does TeShuvah, he can change the decree. Not because Hashem changed his mind, but because we changed our actions. And we are no longer the person that deserves that decree. Same concept of the tza'akah, the prayer. The prayer is that when a person or a group of people pray for rachamim from Hashem, they pray for mercy from Hashem, they're increasing that sick person's merits. When that person was getting sick or some type of negative decree, they had, let's say, 100 pounds of merits, but also 100 pounds of decree. That's a negative decree. So that decree, those merits matched. Once people started praying for that person, once people started learning Torah for that person, once people started doing good things for the sake of that person, they increased the merit side of that person. Now it's no longer 100 pounds. Now it became 200 pounds, 300 pounds. And Hashem says, oh, 300 pounds doesn't deserve this 100 pounds. The 100 pound type of guy, yeah, deserved it. But the 300 pound didn't deserve it. Meaning that there was a change that took place. But sometimes as a last thing for this specific question, sometimes we do things a little too late. Most of the time we do things almost too late. And sometimes we do them too late. Meaning after the decree has already been passed and it's too late to undo it. Person already died. But sometimes we're really close to that. So the Gemara says, one time, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkenos was walking in the street with his students. And since he was part of the Sanhedrin, one of the biggest Tanaim that ever lived, he knew 70 languages. One of those languages was the language of animals. And he saw a very dangerous snake past him. He said, hey, where are you going? There's a snake. I see a snake, I run away, by the way. He sees a snake, hey, where are you going? He says, I'm going to do my job. He goes, what's your job? I'm going to kill that Jew down the street on such and such address. He says, no, you're not allowed to kill that Jew. He goes, why? I have a job. Hashem already sent me. I have the memo. I got the email. I'm here. He says, no. You got the email. You got the message from Hashem to go do it. But since you got it, I already met with that Jew earlier today, and he did TeShuvah. He already decided he's going to stop violating Shabbat. He's going to stop doing what he's doing. So he already started doing Tshuva. He didn't complete Tshuva, but he started doing Tshuva, which means he doesn't deserve the decree that you already got the email. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Someone kadosh, someone holy says go somewhere else. You go somewhere else. The snake turns around, goes somewhere else. Moments later they heard he killed somebody else. Killed somebody else. So the Talmidim, the students of Rabbi Eliezer, says, Rabbi, how come he went to kill somebody else? You told him to go away. No, I didn't tell him to go away. I told him to go somewhere else. Why didn't you tell him to go away, Rabbi? Because no, I can't tell him to go away. It's not my business. Hashem sent him. Hashem sent him. I just told him to go somewhere else because he doesn't have the right to be here anymore. But he still has the right to be here because Hashem sent him. So now, since he doesn't have a right to be here, the decree was already passed. The bullet was already shot. All I told him was to change directions. Once the bullet is shot, there's no undoing it. You can't put it back in the gun. You could change directions with divine assistance. That's what happened. Rabbi Eliezer says the decree already came to the world. Just go to where it does belong now. Somebody else belonged there, which was somebody that was a murderer, and he ended up killing him. Point being, Rabotai, is that sometimes the decree already comes to the world, but we can still save the ones we love as a result of prayer, as a result of tshuva, as a result of doing good things. But most importantly, we shouldn't wait too long, because sometimes we don't have the merit of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkonos, where we know that this is the last chance. But nonetheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a lot of opportunities to do tshuva, especially today. Especially today. Next question. Yes? Chabod.
So, you said that, like, if you change your, if you don't use part of your name, then, like, if you shorten it, you're like, what if you change your name from, like, you have an English and a Hebrew name, and you take away your English name and use your Hebrew name, would that also shorten the length of your life?
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a fantastic thing to do. Not absolutely that you're changing your life. No, absolutely, it's a fantastic thing to do. You should not use the names of the English name. You should use your Hebrew name. And the reason why is because the Torah says that the only mitzvot, since Am Yisrael was in Egypt for 210 years, unfortunately they adapted a lot of the things, the worst things that the Egyptians did, including idolatry. But the few things that gave them merits for Hashem to save them was that they didn't change their clothes. They still looked like Jews. They didn't change their names. And they didn't change their language. So, which means that when we use English names, instead of our Hebrew names, we are in essence lowering our merits that actually saved us, that brought us to Mashiach, Moshe Rabbeinu, so we shouldn't. We should not use our English name. You should use your Hebrew name all the time. Your English name does not count at all in Shemayim. Especially if you only have an English name, then that's your name. But if you have a Hebrew name, that's the name you should use, because that's the name that in Shemayim, that's what they write down. You come to Shemayim and you say, yeah, I'm Samantha. Sorry, we don't know Samantha. No, I'm Samantha. I was Samantha for 75 years. Samantha, what do you mean? All my friends know me as Samantha. I'm sorry, man, we don't know Samantha. Oh, I'm Sarah. Oh, Sarah we know. Sarah we know. Sarah's over here. Yeah, Sarah Tzadika. Sarah is Tzadika. Samantha we don't know. Samantha is maybe somebody else. Sarah we know. Same thing with somebody goes, I go up to Shemayim. A woman actually had a near-death experience. She died, came back to life. So she went up to Shemayim. They told her, listen, it's your time. She goes, no, what do you mean it's my time? I have 4 kids. She goes, who are your kids? She goes, I got Benji. She goes, you don't have a son named Benji. What do you mean? I have Dudu. She goes, you don't have a son named Dudu. What do you mean? I have Asi. You don't have Asi. You don't have a kid named Asi. I have Shlomi. You don't have Shlomi. You don't have any kids. She goes, what do you mean? I had 4 kids that came out of my body. You do not have no Asi, no Dudu, no nothing. She goes, no, what do you mean? I have David. David you have. Yeah, David you have. Dudu you don't have. David you have. Asi you don't have. Asaf you have. That you have. Benji you don't have. Benjamin you have. Benjamin you have. That you have. Meaning those little nicknames we give ourselves, they don't recognize them in Shemayim. That means, Rabotai Kareem, get used to your real name. Get used to your real name, because that's how they know you in Shemayim. You shouldn't use an English name or an Arab name or some other name. You have a Hebrew name, use it. Be proud of it, because that's what they know you in Shamayim, and that's what they're going to know you forever in Shamayim. Next question. Yes, yes. So the Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 17a, says, depends what level of Gehinom a person is in. If there are 7 levels of Gehinom, the Reshit Chochmah, which I actually have with me for anyone that wants to look at it, so they don't think I'm making this stuff up. The Reshit Chochmah gives detailed explanations of what happens in every one of the Madorot, every one of the chambers in Gehinom. It also tells what kind of sins you do in order to get into a certain chamber. For example, right over here, the Mador Revi'i Nikra Tita Yavin, the 4th chamber of Gehinom, and just Baruch Hashem, it happens to be open. The 4th chamber of Gehinom is called Tita Yavin, and there they put people that have arrogance, people that are arrogant, people that make fun of poor people, people that shame poor people, people that waste seed unintentionally, and also people that go with goyot. Guys that go with goyot, that's the place for them is the 4th level of Gehinom. And there's other things. 5th level, for example, called Sheol. The 5th level is called Sheol. Over there, they put people that are Muslim. If you go call the cops on a Jew, call the IRS on a Jew, you have a serious problem, you call them Moser. If you tell people to donate money to a church, you call them Moser. If apikos is someone that's a heretic. A kofer, also different type of heretic. Someone that's even a kofer in Tchiat HaMetim, they don't believe in resurrection of the dead. Also, they go to the 5th level. And so on and so forth. The Gemara says in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, the first 6 levels have a certain amount of time frame. Different sins, different sentence. Sin, let's say A, has 1 year. Sins B has 2 years. Sin C has 10 years, and so on and so forth. So the Gemara says certain people go and have to pay only for 1 year, only for 2 years, only for 1,000 years, and so on and so forth. But when the Mashiach comes, they'll be taken out, they'll join the rest of Am Yisrael at Tzadikim, and they'll have an eternity of good, Bezat Hashem. But there's a 7th level. The 7th level of Gehinom, anyone that enters does not leave. They go in there and they never leave. Gemara says even after Mashiach comes, even after Tchiat HaMetim, even after the end of this world, it's an eternity of Gehinom until the Neshama is officially destroyed, which could be millions and millions of years. And the sins that a person does in order to get to the 7th level of Gehinom, Rabotai Karim, are so easy to make, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. How people are mamash putting themselves in eternity of Gehinom with a simple sin. One of those sins is Chilul Shabbat. Someone that violates Shabbat on purpose and does not do TeShuvah dies without doing TeShuvah for Chilul Shabbat, meaning they live their life as a Mechalel Shabbat or Mechalelet Shabbat. They go into the 7th level of Gehinom and do not end. Mashiach, no Mashiach, resurrection of the dead, all that stuff doesn't not apply to them. Second type of sin, it says over here, Amar sheyesh makom begehinom v'hu nikra tzoar o tachat. The Mador HaShvi'i, תחתית הארץ, היורד לשם שוב אינו עולה. Someone who goes into it, the 7th level, it's called תחתית הארץ. Someone that goes into it does not come out. And it says that there's different parts of it. One of it is boiling feces, another part is boiling seed, other is different types of fire. Hashem Erachem. One person is a Mechalel Shabbat that goes in there. Dies a Mechalel Shabbat. He didn't do TeShuvah. If he did TeShuvah, they don't have to worry about it. But if they didn't do TeShuvah, they have a very, very serious, permanent problem. Second is someone that's wasting seed. Lechatchila. Meaning, they waste seed on purpose. Like, unfortunately, many guys today, young and old, they're addicted to it. They do it sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times daily, sometimes a few times a week. You die without doing tshuva for wasting seed, my friend, doesn't matter if you kept Shabbat. Gehenom starts and doesn't end for you. Rabotai, it's not a joke. You learn about Gehenom. When I learned about it, I started crying. It's not a place you want anyone in there, including yourself or anyone you love. Wasting seed is a serious crime against Hashem. Next one, it says, someone's a machtia rabim. Someone that causes other people to sin. A woman that walks around immodest, she causes guys to sin. They end up wasting seed because of her. What do you think? She goes away free while he's in jail forever? No, my friends. A woman that walks around immodest, that causes other men to sin, she's considered a machtia rabim. Hashem yirachem aleinu. This could be our sisters. This could be our daughters, Hashem yirachem. This could be people that we know. This could be our mothers that causes men to sin. That means, Rabotai Karim, there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch, meaning that a woman needs to take on modesty. Why? You don't want to go with such a crime in Shamayim. I know it seems hard to be modest in this world because everybody else is immodest. I know it seems like it's hot and therefore if you're going to put more layers or at least longer clothes, it's going to be unbearable. But I promise you, it's not that hard, and I promise you it's not hotter when you wear longer sleeves. In fact, many times it's hotter when you wear shorter sleeves. Same thing with guys. Guys that don't take advantage of the mitzvah of tzitzit because they think it's too hot, you're wasting a big opportunity to make a mitzvah, and every second you're going to need that mitzvah. You're going to need that mitzvah to protect you. So, guy that could have the excuse, oh no, I'm not wearing tzitzit because it's too hot. When you wear tzitzit, you're actually less hot. And the reason why is because you have layers. When you have layers, you'll have actually less heat. You'll have more wind coming into your body. I promise you, it's not more hot with tzitzit. It's the opposite. Just your Yetzirah telling you. So the point being, Rabotai, is that if a person goes to the first 6 levels of Gehenom, for whatever sins they've committed, there is a punishment. It's a very serious punishment, which you could learn from my shiur about Gehenom. I didn't even go into all the details, but I went into enough details to scare the lights out of everybody, including myself. But it ends at some point. It could be a month, it could be 5,000 years, it could be 5 million years, but at some point it ends. Remember, time over there is not like time over here. So even if Mashiach comes, it doesn't mean that the person, let's say Mashiach comes next year. It doesn't mean that a person that goes to Gehenom tomorrow is only going to be in Gehenom for 1 year. Doesn't mean that. There's no time over there. Meaning that Mashiach can come next year, but that person went to Gehenom for 50,000 years. Why? Because there's no time there. So yeah, here it's a year. Over there it could be 50,000 years. One of the places we learn in the Torah, that time is different over there, is this week's parasha. This week's parasha, Parashat Shlach. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu say to Am Yisrael? He says, you said something against the land and said Lashon Hara about the land after going there for 40 years, for 40 days. For every one of your days, I'm going to count a year. The punishment, 40-year punishment. 40 days trip, 1 second actual sin, 40-year punishment. No one from that generation entered Eretz Yisrael. Here we already see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's time span, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's clock is very different than us. 1 second sin could be centuries of punishment. Point being, we have to do tshuva. Little by little you'll do more, little by little you'll get better, and you'll see that this is the best thing you've ever done for yourself. Not just in the next world, but also in this one. In this one. So if a person goes to the first 6, it ends at some point, but that's not necessarily good news. It just means it ends at some point. But if they go into the 7th place because of Machtier Rabim, or Motzim Zera Levatala, or Chilul Shabbat, these 3 major crimes, there's a few others by the way as well, but those are the 3 most common, then they have a permanent problem because they'll enter Gehenom Hashem Yerachem and they will not leave. And it's not going to be fun. Yes?
You said before that we're not meant to be robots, and that Hashem didn't create us to be robots, but don't we believe that when Mashiach comes, we're going to lose our free will? We're not
No.
going to be able to choose between good and evil anymore.
No, we don't believe that we'll lose a free will. We believe that we will not have a Yetzirah, meaning that we will choose good because we want good. We will not have the same desires that we have now. We won't have the desires to go against Hashem. will have a desire to constantly sanctify His name. But the Mashiach coming is the culmination of the world. That's the goal. It's the goal. It's not going to be that Hashem is turning us into robots. It's going to mean that it's time for us to get paid the reward for all the hard work that we've toiled for several thousand years. Yes?
What happens to your neshama when you have sleep paralysis?
I have a short clip about that. Sleep paralysis is a very real thing. I have some decent amount of understanding of it, I could put it that way. It's not good news. It's not fun. It's a very serious sign from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you have to change your actions immediately. What's sleep paralysis? In so many words, sleep paralysis is that you are seeing things that may or may not exist in reality for other people. It seems like you're dreaming, but you may not be dreaming. You may be dreaming, but nonetheless you cannot move. So for example, you can see something that other people don't see. Most of the times it's because you're dreaming, but you can't move. Point being is that these things are very, very scary because you become disabled, and the only thing that you can move is your eyes, and the only thing you can see is very scary things. And this is a form of punishment, but also more than punishment, it's a warning. It's a warning that you are doing something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu despises. Sometimes those things are, it's common, mostly it's common for people that are either idolaters or people that are promiscuous. People that waste seed, people that are promiscuous with men, things like that. It happens to them. It's very common among those two things because those two sins create the most amount of tum'ah, the most amount of impurity, and it's that type of impurity is detestable to Hashem. It's considered disgusting. So there's different types of sleep paralysis. Different people experience it differently. I can tell you that every one of them agrees it's the scariest thing on earth. Sometimes you feel like you're actually dying, but you're not. Sometimes you feel like your soul is coming out of your body, but it's not coming out in a nice way. You're not flying. You're Shem Yachem. It's not a fun thing, and but in so many words, it's a very serious warning that you have to do something serious, or else Hashem is going to make it worse. The bigger the sign, the more obvious the sign, the more heavy the warning is. Put it that way. Yes.
Question, I had the same thing for 2 years ago, like almost 2 years ago. So what I felt like, even when I was sleeping, I was like I was at work, I work at the same time, and I had another roommate with me. What I had is like, I fell asleep in a second, and I felt my eyes is open, and I still see like the other guy sleeping over there, and I see everything, the same thing.
Okay.
And like, I could not move, could not breathe anything.
Right.
And after I saw what I saw over there, like in the middle, I saw a white chair in the middle, and somebody like coming and want to choke me. That's what I figured out.
Okay.
And after to wake me up, what I tried the most, I tried to like move. I didn't open up, but I moved my eyes and tried to do noises. After I did my noises, then the guy woke up, and then I woke up. That's what I.
That's mercy from Hashem that you actually woke up before it got worse than what you're saying. Yeah, sleep paralysis is a very, very serious situation. It's scary. It's very, very scary. Anybody that had a few of them knows that when I talk about Gehenom, I'm understating it. I'm understating it. That's how bad sleep paralysis can be. It's literally, it's not a dream per se. It's a reality. It's a reality that you will remember. Dreams sometimes can be bad, but you forget them within moments after you wake up. Sleep paralysis, you're not going to forget for the rest of your life. You could be 1,000 years old, you're still not going to forget it. That's how bad sleep paralysis is. So, if somebody has it, that means that Kadosh Baruch Hu is raising the ante. But different people experience it different ways. Point is that Baruch Hashem, hopefully you've changed some things since then. You continue to change those things. You continue to get closer to Hashem, and you'll never have to worry about that stuff. Yes.
I have a friend that has a condition where, like, every night he has sleep paralysis. So is this still a symbol from Hashem?
100%.
Because but he's like actually really religious.
Yeah, he wastes seed. He wastes seed. A lot of people are really religious, but they waste seed. They
With,
mess. Yes.
Shomer.
Shomer what? With other women maybe. and maybe not himself. A lot of people, they think that it's enough not to touch girls. It has nothing to do with girls. Yeah, of course you're not to touch girls unless you're married. But, for some reason or another, over the last 100 years, the Rabbeim have decided to remove the teachings of Kedusha. We call it in Torah, which is the issues of a person with himself, a person with someone else, the opposite gender. And how to protect the Kedusha, how to protect your Brit. They've removed this from teachings today. I have countless yeshiva bachurim, as students from all over the world that come to me for help for this, because I'm pretty much the only one that talks about this specific issue in the English language on a regular basis. There are a few rabbis that are Talmidei Chachamim that have spoken about it in English, but not it's not common. When I did the lecture on it, first lecture I ever did on it was about 4 years ago. It's one of the most popular lectures on the internet in general. On this topic, it's by far the most popular. But when I did that lecture, it was almost a 4-hour lecture. At that moment, the total amount of time that you could find on the internet in English about the topic was 5.5 hours, of which 4 hours was me. The next year I did another lecture about it. I think another 2-3 hours. Still, that meant that now you had 7.5, 8 hours of lectures, of which 7 of it is me. 6.5 of it is me. And this continued until about the last year. A couple of my chaverim, a couple of Talmidei Chachamim that I know, did lectures about it, Baruch Hashem, so there's a little bit more than that now. Baruch Hashem, we've also increased it as well. So now you can find a decent amount of information about it, but still very few. You have less than a handful of speakers in the entire world of English speakers that talk about this topic. A few of them that talk about it or decided to talk about it, not my chaverim, just people that did it, they actually made it worse because they made it seem like it's nothing. Few people made it much worse, so it's better they don't talk about it. But nonetheless, they don't teach this topic in schools anymore. So the only way you could learn this, unless you know my lectures in English, is from Sfarim. Problem is that all of the Sfarim that talk about it are in Hebrew. So if you don't know Hebrew, you have a serious problem. You have a very serious problem. So Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zika Otanu, gave us the merit to do these lectures, and we have probably now over 10-15 hours about the topic, so you have everything and anything that you need about the topic available to you. We even have, there's a book about it that is on our website, about 200 pages full of sources of how dangerous this sin is, both for men and for women. And the point is that when a person learns about this, even if they don't touch women, even if she doesn't touch men, and so on and so forth, they realize there's still a criminal in this offense. Why? Because they do it alone. They do it by themselves. And that's actually more common than promiscuity with the opposite sex. It's more common for men to be by themselves and waste seed than for them to find a new wife every week. And unfortunately, some guys are so addicted to it that it becomes almost impossible for them to stop. I know one guy that is literally almost killing himself. Physically. I'm not talking about spiritually. Spiritually, is I know one particular guy is almost killing himself physically. You see him, he looks like a sick person. He looks like he has AIDS. He doesn't, though. But he's killed himself because this particular sin has both physical and spiritual issues, spiritual consequences. And a lot of guys are addicted to it, and that causes them a lot of problems in life. The Torah that they learn, many times they don't understand it, or they don't remember it, or they just can't even simply apply it. Sometimes they have a lot of weird thoughts in their mind, horrible dreams, night terrors, and a lot of different consequences. 9 out of 10 times when people have bad stuff happening in their life, if they're losing money, if they have shlombait problems, if they have physical problems, 9 out of 10 times in this generation, it's because of this specific sin. And reason why is because this is, the Zohar Kadosh says, this is the one sin that is going to be the TIKKUN of the generation. Meaning this is the one thing that the generation will have to overcome before Mashiach comes. If Mashiach came right now, we'll be worse than what we were in Mitzrayim. Because even the religious among us that keep Shabbat, keep Talat Mishpacha, keep kosher, pray, even learn Torah every day, unfortunately many of them are even victims to this issue. Because until now, many of them didn't even know it's a crime. A lot of them didn't know. They know it's bad. They just didn't know how bad it is. People know that murder is bad, but they didn't know necessarily they'll get a death penalty for it. So when you learn about this specific sin, you'll understand why the Shulchan Aruch, the main body of laws for the Torah, says that wasting seed is the number one sin in the Torah. It's the worst sin in the Torah. Worst possible thing. Because of all the consequence that it has, not just punishment, but also what it has in this world. Yes?
So if someone would stop
Yes.
doing a good Tshuva for it,
Yes.
would problems
I mean,
happen in their life, or
no, if a person does complete Shuvah for wasting seed, no, they can get to a very high level of Kedusha. They can become a serious Talmid Chacham. They can solve a lot of issues that they have in life and potentially even get a major salvation. I can tell you a few things. I know a few people that listen to me on this issue. One guy was looking for a shidduch for years. Looking for a shidduch for years. I think it was maybe 8 years, 9 years. Good looking, handsome guy. Couldn't find. Every girl, something happened. They like him, then they don't like him. They like him, they don't like him. The wedding's on, the wedding's off. Hashem Yachem. 8 years he's going, trying. One day happens to be that he comes to my shiur. We find out I talk about wasting seed, and he's like, "You're talking about me?" I said, "I know what's happening in your house. How do I know?" I'm just telling you what the Torah says. He goes, "No. I'm saying you're talking about me. I'm the guy. I do it." I said, "Okay, stop." He said, "Yeah, but it's hard." I know it's hard. Rambam says it's the hardest thing to overcome. It's the most difficult thing in the entire Torah to overcome if you have an addiction to it. But it's possible. And if you overcome it, the reward is endless. Baruch Hashem, he listened. He stopped. Within 4 months, he got married. 4 months, he got married. Another guy, couldn't have a kid. Married guys are also addicted to this stuff. Don't think just because you're married, you're okay. I have guys that are married that are addicted to it also. One guy was married, couldn't have a kid. A few years they spent a lot of money, doctors, all types of pills, all types of hormones. Hashem Yachem. Baruch Hashem came to me. They had an issue. I told them, this is the issue. Don't tell your wife, but you have a very serious problem, so on and so forth. Baruch Hashem, within a year they had a kid. The point being, Rabotai, is that it's not a joke. I'm not a prophet. I'm not the son of a prophet, but I know what Torah says here. In this specific issue, if you overcome it, the reward you're going to get is something so out of the ordinary, so extraordinary, that the only regret you're going to have, you didn't do it sooner. But it takes time, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lifetime commitment. Don't ever think, okay, I'm not going to do it every day like I used to, but I'll do it a couple times a month. Come on, no, to relieve the stress. Once a month, Hashem's okay. I used to do it every day. Once a month's okay. No, my friend. There's no such thing as once a month. Dvash matzata echol dayeka. Pentis behena ve'ekiato. Shlomo HaMelech says, if you found honey, don't eat too much, or else you'll end up throwing up. Chachamim say, what? We need diet lessons from Shlomo HaMelech? He says, no. Shlomo HaMelech is teaching us about the issues of Kedusha. He says, even if you found a beautiful wife, don't be too often with her. There's a certain time of the month to be together, and even then, you have to make sure that there's a time and place for everything. Don't be like the animals that do things in the streets. Show everybody their business. The time and a place for everything, even if she's your wife. Why? If you don't watch even something that's allowed, eventually it will become disgusting to you. Even that beautiful wife of yours will become disgusting to you. And that's what Rabbi Yochanan says in the Gemara. He says that there's a small member in a person's body, small body part in a person's body, that if you feed it, it'll never be satiated. It'll always be hungry. If you don't feed it, if you starve it, it'll always be full. So Chamim says, what is it talking about? He's talking about the male member. He's talking about promiscuity. He's talking about wasting seed. If a person wastes seed, even if it's once a month, it's only a matter of time before it's twice. It's only a matter of time before it's 5 times. It's only a matter of time before it's every day. But if he starves it, and it's 0, guess what? After a while, he has 0 desire to do it unless it's allowed. Meaning, he's with his wife. With his wife, he's still normal, he's still excited, everything is good. But he does it every day, it's a very serious problem. Because it'll never be enough. Yes?
So you still
It's a problem, but not as big. It's a problem, but not as big. If, let's say, for example, if a woman is dressed modestly as far as the way she looks, but she hugs and kisses other guys that are not her husband, she still has a very serious problem. She still has a very serious problem, but it's not as significant. And the reason why is because it's limited to the people that are immediately around her, meaning it's less of a sin. It's still a problem, but it's less of a sin. Whereas a woman that's not modest as far as clothing, even if the guy's 100 yards away, could still see her. And once a neshama sees something, it gets recorded permanently in there. And that means he's going to think about her at some inappropriate time, even when he's with his wife. So she has a very serious problem at that point. But if she acts immodestly occasionally, by accident, it's a different story.
Well, what if like a girl that's modest still makes a guy waist see? Does she get the sin for it?
No. If she is modest, she did what she's supposed to. And this psychopath desires her, that's his problem. That's his problem. That's not her problem. If she is, because she's not responsible for his craziness. Because she wasn't a partner to the crime. She covered her hair, covered her body, acted modestly, everything is good. The fact that he's that way, it's not a problem. But if she's not modest, then she's obviously a victim to the crime. She's obviously a partner to the crime. You know what the funny thing is, though? I'll tell you a secret, women. I'll tell you a secret, not just about men, but about Torah and about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mercy. I'm not only telling you this as a rabbi, I'm telling you this as a man. Men don't have illicit thoughts about modest women. They want to marry them. They don't want to do ugly things to them. So a man, generally speaking, has to be very, very sick in order to have illicit thoughts about a classy woman, a woman that's modest. He has to be sick, meaning a person that actually desires such a woman probably desires the chair also, desires the horse, desires the cat, desires the seat, desires everything. He desires anything. So it has nothing to do with her anyway. If she's modest, good men, like men that actually have kedusha in their head, they don't think like that. They simply don't. That doesn't mean they don't ever think like that. That means they protect themselves and they don't allow themselves to get that far. But the point is, if a woman is modest, she has nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to allow such things to happen as part of the reward. Part of the reward for what you're doing. Yes?
What if it's immodest in speech?
Immodest in speech can also lead to certain things, but it's lesser of a crime. It's lesser. It's still a crime, but lesser of a crime. So it's like this. Torah says, don't murder. Right? It says don't murder. It says in the Ten Commandments, don't murder. The Chachamim say that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw the Jew raise his hand to hit the other Jew, he said, Rasha! Yeah, but he didn't hit him yet. He didn't kill him. Like Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Egyptian the day before. But he called the one that had his hand in the air Rasha already. Why? That hit could lead to murder. You didn't murder him yet, but the fact that it can lead to murder, you already called the Rasha in the Torah. Meaning, it is a crime that's defined in the Torah as a Rasha, as a wicked person, but it's still not a murderer. So yes, being immodest is the actual murder. Murder of many neshamot, and every neshama that looks at her, she's murdering that neshama. But if she simply says things that are immodest, it's not murder per se, but it's still rasha. It's still a problem. So yes, it's definitely something to work on. And B'ezras Hashem, if a woman is modest, eventually the exterior appearance, if it's real and if it's for the right reason, and it's not just some style, like some women, they change their look for style purposes. Like there's this one woman that, I'm not going to mention her name, but she made a big mitzvah. A huge mitzvah 5-6 years ago. She started a website to teach women how to cover their hair in a nice way. To cover their hair with a mitpachat, nice way. We liked this mitzvah so much that we promoted her website. We don't know her. We bought some stuff from the website here and there, but we don't know her. So that might tell me down or anything like that. But we liked what she was doing so much, we promoted it to people. Anyone wanted to go buy kisurosh, I would send it to this website. Anyone that wanted to learn, I would send them to this videos, because she was doing a great mitzvah. Fantastic mitzvah. Unfortunately, at some point along the road, she became successful. She started making a lot of money from this, and she forgot about the mitzvah. It became style. meaning she wasn't covering the hair or telling people to cover the hair because of the mitzvah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. She said it's just nice looking. She liked it. So one day she saw that one of her she decided that one of the posts we made on the internet, one of my Talmidot, she took her wig after she heard the truth about wigs. She took her wig and she burned it. So a lot of people made a comment about this, and this woman decided that has this business decided to say, listen, we're not against wigs. We just like covering hair with the mitpachat as a look. What did she just do in that act? All of the mitzvot she just did for the last 5 years, millions and millions of mitzvot, just went into the garbage pail. She's lost everything in 1 second. Why? It went from being a mitzvah to being style. If a woman is modest for the mitzvah reasons, the reward is endless. If she's modest because she likes the way the clothes looks, that's a problem. Hopefully she gets to the mitzvah. If it's both, she likes the way it looks, and she's doing for the mitzvah, no problem. It's perfect. That's perfect. That's normal. But if she's only doing it because of the style, then you have a little bit of a problem. Why? Because the style won't stay the same forever. You're going to change your style at one point. You're going to change your opinion at one point. Just like this woman did 5 years into it. She forgot what the mitzvah was, and she made a stupid comment that lost a lot. She doesn't even realize how much she lost. Yes? Yes?
How does a person do proper TeShuvah?
So, first thing it says in Torah is stop sinning. And then it says start doing good things. So, the first, the most important step of tshuva is to stop the big sins. The big ones. Stop violating Shabbat. Stop eating non-kosher. Stop wasting seed. Stop, if you have a girlfriend, break up with her or get married, whichever one happens first. If you have a boyfriend, either get married or break up with him, whichever happens first. There's no such thing as boyfriend, girlfriend in Judaism. There's no such thing. I know somebody that, Hashem Yirachem, nice, fantastic human being, said that, his girlfriend is great. He wants to marry her one day. He wants to build a family one day. But, they've been girlfriend and boyfriend for a few years. 2-3 years already. So obviously, after 2-3 years, even if you started off not touching after 2-3 years, how much can you overcome? How many tests can you overcome? So they touched. And one touch led to another touch. And the next thing you know, he tells me, he goes, what do I do, Rabbi? I said, what? He goes, we just had an abortion. I said, well, now you have to do tshuva. What's tshuva? Well, one tshuva you have to do is you have to say sorry to Hashem that you just committed murder. So you have a very serious problem. 2, you have to either break up with her or you have to get married tomorrow. Whichever one happens first. That's the tshuva there. Why? Because now that means that you are already too dangerous for yourself. So first thing is we have to understand. We have to stop the big sins. There's no, I'm stopping half of it. Like, I'm only going to drive half of Shabbat. I'm only going to murder once a month. I'm only going to kill once a week. There's no such thing. You have to stop the big sins as soon as you possibly can. If you fail, it's not okay. Try again, though. It's not okay, but try again. And try again. And try again until you overcome it. Stop the big sins. After you focus on stopping the big sins, whatever you know of, stop it. That's no good. Then start focusing on doing as many mitzvot as you possibly can. Any opportunity you have to make a mitzvah, do it. Learning Torah is the best mitzvah in the world. Learn as much as you possibly can. Do every mitzvah that you possibly can. And take advantage of the millions of opportunities you have to do good things, and you'll see that those mitzvot will make you stronger in overcoming those sins that you're making. Because again, you're not going to be able to stop everything in one shot, because you still have desires. But at least the desire to stop will show Hashem that you're serious. And He'll give you a lot of help, especially since you're all very young. He'll give you a lot of help to overcome things you didn't think you're going to be able to overcome. A person that usually has the most amount of desires, sexual desires, when he's very young. Guys in this, 18, 19, 20, 25, that's usually the time where they're the most desired. Women are a little older. But the beautiful thing is, a lot of my Talmidim from all over the world, they come to me at this age, and they listen to the Shulim, and guess what? They stop. They actually have, even though their desire is much greater than some of our students that are in their 30s and 40s. The 18-year-olds' desires are much greater than the 35, 40, 50-year-old guy that's married. But the funny thing is, the guy that's 18, the guy that's 15, is much more successful, much more often in stopping wasting seed than the guys that are 40. Why? Because the younger you are, the more Hashem will help you do tshuva. You just have to show Hashem that you want to do it. By trying. You do it, Hashem will help you, will give you 100% siyat lishma. Same thing with women. Yes? No such thing as boyfriend. No such thing as boyfriend. He's a husband or he's a stranger. Because the point is we have to understand is that we are not allowed to trust ourselves. We're not allowed to trust our own Yitzhak. Now, until now, Baruch Hashem, the boyfriend and the girlfriend didn't even touch each other's fingers. They're a platonic relationship, they call it. Well, platonic. I have a lecture I call platonic, atomic, not platonic. Atomic bomb. Atomic relationship, not platonic. Why? Because even though today he didn't touch the finger, and tomorrow he didn't touch the finger, and next week he doesn't touch the finger, one day the Yetzirah is not a finger, he's not doing anything right now. But one day the Yetzirah is going to come, and something is going to make her really emotional. Somebody died, somebody born, she got a job, she got fired from a job, something happened in his life, something happened in our life, and they're really emotional and they need affection. And that platonic relationship can change just like that. Why? She needs a hug today. And the platonic relationship is not enough. So the hug. So now once you have changed that boundary, now a hug is automatically okay. Well, under extreme conditions. What happens with the Yetzirah? You let him in once, lapetach hatat rovetz. You open a little bit of the door, he's inside your house already. Now, hug is one time is okay. Next thing it's 2 hugs. Next thing it's a hug and a little smooch on the cheek. No, she's my girlfriend, but no, we're waiting till get married. We're waiting to get married, and guess what? Doesn't usually work. Why? Because we're human beings. We're human beings and we are vulnerable, and the Yetzirah works really, really hard. So if you love him and he loves you, then get married. Get married. There's no reason for a person not to get married. Now, if a person is going to say, wait a minute, why should I get married? I'm only 17 years old. So? 17 years old. So what's... If you're not going to get married, then what's the point of the relationship? Why would you let anyone so close into your life, so close into your heart, if they're not going to be there permanently? Like you're going to tell, especially women, they like to talk. Torah says Hashem gave 10 degrees of speaking in the world, 9 he gave to women. Women like to talk. So women likes to spill our heart. So the boyfriend, Mr. Boyfriend, that's platonic relationship, he likes to listen. That's why she likes him. So he likes to listen, and she talks, and he likes to listen, and she talks, and she tells him, since he likes to listen, she tells him all of the most personal things about her. All of the most personal things. What she likes, what was really bad, what was really embarrassing, what was this, what was that. Why would you tell him if he's not going to be there permanently? If he's just temporary, do you really want to tell your deepest secrets to somebody that's only temporarily in your life? If he's temporarily in your life, then that means the information is not temporary though. He's not temporary. He's only temporarily going to protect that information. He's only temporarily going to protect that privacy you have. Because he's only temporarily committed to you. Until he doesn't get what he wants. So that's why, Rabotai, in Judaism, there's no such thing as boyfriend-girlfriend. If you want to be together because you want to build a family, because you want to build a future, you don't need money, you don't need a job, you don't need a certain age, you just need to understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects of you. If you are of the age, you are mature to make your own decisions, there's absolutely no reason for you to not get married, whether you're 18 or you're 20, in college, not in college, financially set, not financially set, all that stuff is shtuyot. Hashem decides what parnasah you're going to have, how you're going to pay for everything, how you're going to do everything. All of those worries are a figment of our imagination that comes from the Yetzirah, and I'll give you a proof for it from one of my students. I had a student came to me, young, maybe 25 years old, 24 years old, and said, listen, I love her, she's fantastic, but I'm not ready to get married. I'm only 25. I don't have $5 in my pocket. She's even younger than me. She doesn't have, not only she doesn't have $5, she has debt. She has $50,000, $60,000 in college debt. We don't even know how we're gonna, right now we live with our parents. If we get married, we can't live with our parents. How are we gonna afford the house? And then on top of that, we're gonna have kids right now. I'm still a kid. I'm still 25. She's still 20. How are we gonna have a kid? We're still kids. How are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do that? One question. Do you want to do what Hashem said or no? Obviously, every normal being will say, yes, I want to do what Hashem said. Do you trust Hashem? Do you trust Hashem? Do you trust that Hashem runs the world? Or do you think that Hashem is here to torture you? No, Hashem is here. He loves me. If you trust Hashem and you want to do what He says, get married. Baruch Hashem, they listened, and Baruch Hashem, they have a fantastic family. Everything worked out. The money issues worked out. The job issues worked out. The kid issues worked out. Life worked out. And all of those friends that told them you're too young and you're too this and too that, guess what? They're eating their hearts out, still single and miserable. 5, 6 years later. Why? Because they still think that you're too young and too young and too young. I have a bunch of friends, former friends, that were too young to get married. Now they're almost 50. They're still too young to get married though. You know why they're too young to get married? Because nobody from the cemetery wants to marry them, so they have to get there first until they find a wife. All the people in the cemetery are old. Anybody their age doesn't want to get married anymore. Why? They're 50 already. They spend half their life already being single. Next question. Yes?
Abortion is against murder. Abortion is murder.
Ken.
How is it not against the law to have that?
We're not here to explain civil law. We're only here to explain Torah law. Civil law is against the Torah in many cases. Torah law is the only law that doesn't change. Civil law is by man. Torah law is by God. We don't question the level of stupidity because we know that if stupidity was a stock, the price would be infinity. So the stupidity of man is something that never ceases to amaze his people because it continues to grow. But God's law, Kadosh Baruch Hu's law, is divine, it's perfect, and it never ceases to amaze us how perfect it really is. It's just our problem that we doubt it. Next question. Yes?
It's not about girth and not about love. It's something that I found, like, I don't know, it's like I'm reading about it, like it's about the sugarography and stuff, you know, but it's like about the layers inside the earth.
The layers inside the earth, yes.
What is, like, sugar?
Sure, they know the word. I mean, the archaeologists, have seen that there are layers in the earth. How they translate it is a different story, though. You mean if you're talking about how they're timing the age of the earth, that's what you're referring to, based on the layers of the earth?
Like, people saying there is inside, like, for example, in the middle of the earth, like the south and the north, there's like a hole, a big hole that you go inside, and there's like another lake, or there's like a different living.
That's actually in the Torah. That's not from National Geographic.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
In the Torah, we have Shlomo HaMelech, who knew deep secrets of the world, knew the language of every creature, was able to speak to all beings. He was the king of the world, not just king of people. King of the world means that he was the king of the demons, he was the king of the birds, he was the king of the everything. And he showed his people different things that no one knew existed. He said that there are different creatures in the world, that if we saw them today, they would look to us like aliens, because they don't look like us. But they exist in this world, here where we are. So he commanded the king of the demons, named Ashmadai, to do certain things for him. One of the things that he asked him to do, or commanded him to do, is to go bring him certain beings that lived in a different part of the world that's under the ground. So he showed them, he brought them to this world, and after he finished, he goes, put him back. He goes, no, that's something I can't do. I can only bring him here, I can't bring him back. So one of the people that he brought, one of the things that he brought was someone that had 2 heads. 2 heads, but in this world, if you're born with 2 heads, that's usually because there's some deformity. No, there's not deformity. This is how they are. Then he brought a little person. Then he brought different creatures. Point being is that Torah says that there are different types of creatures that exist in the world. Different types of animals, different types of things that exist in the Torah that they made movies about and we think are fairy tales, but in reality they're real. So for example, there is an animal that cannot, it's an animal that kills everything it sees, but it's something that you can kill by cutting its umbilical cord, because the umbilical cord is tied to the ground. Wherever it goes, the ground goes with it. But it's a destructive animal. Kill anything in sight. Very vicious animal. There's another, creature that the Rambam even talks about it. There's another creature that called a re'em. Re'em is something that's a combination of a deer and a bull, but just in dinosaur size. That also existed in the world. Meaning the Torah has many, many different creatures that are under the world, that are here, that we haven't seen, that are very much real. We just don't necessarily know about them. We're still discovering new species now. Like right now, they discovered a new species that the Torah talks about, or at least it's similar to it, which is something similar to the Shamir worm. Point being is that there's a lot of things we don't know about the world. Torah does talk about all of that stuff. One of the other interesting secrets that Torah has about what's under the ground and what's above us is water. Water. Why? Because the Torah says in Sefer Bereshit, chapter 2, I think verse 4, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu split the heavens, and he split the water from under the heavens and above the heavens. And Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says that yes, the water that's above the heavens is much, much greater than the water under the heavens. So for many years, people made fun of the Torah. I said, what are you talking about? Water under the heavens, meaning water under the sky, we know. We know water under the sky. The ocean, 72% of the world is an ocean, is one big sea. But in outer space, there's no ocean. There's no ocean. You don't see an ocean in Mars. You don't see an ocean on the moon. You don't see an ocean on any other planet. We think there may or may not be, but we don't see it for sure. So they said, so there's a mistake in the Torah, because why? The Torah says not only is there water in outer space, but there's actually even more water in outer space than here. So Torah says the people thought that we made a mistake, until the scientists finally caught up to what Torah says, and two scientists by the name of Professor Louis Frank and Dr. John Sigworth, with an advanced telescope, discovered that a few major bodies of water we never knew existed. One of them was something that we call a falling star. Sometimes you see a star falling. It's not really falling. It's not falling. It's not even a star. It's not even a star. It's a comet. What's a comet? A comet is an enormous, giant ice ball. And the only reason why it looks like it's falling is because it's passing in direct line with the sun, and it's melting at high speed. Therefore, it's creating a track. We never knew that these things were actually ice, because each one of them literally is like a huge, you can fill up half an ocean. So we saw, wow, there's a lot of them. Oh, and then they discovered, these two professors, that the entire outer surface of the universe is where all of these comets break off of. Why? Because the entire outer surface of the universe is all ice. Meaning that the water above the heavens is much, much greater than the water under the heavens. But even more so, recently, in just the last decade, scientists discovered huge bodies of water underground in this world. So much so that they say that there's much more water underground than there is in the ocean. It's just stored differently inside rocks and so on and so forth, but it's much, much greater. Meaning the ocean that's under the ground is greater than the ocean above the ground. You can see this stuff on the internet if you'd like. Very, very interesting stuff. Point being is that in every aspect that you want, if you want to consider the heavens the ground, then it's still right. The ocean and this. You want to consider it the other ways, and so on and so forth. Meaning that Torah is right in every direction you go. It's just that sometimes, most of the time, science is behind the Torah. Many, many decades, and in some cases, a few centuries. Yes?
If a baby has a circumcision when it's born, can there still be a bris? Like a
Oh, meaning if a baby is born with a Brit Milah already, he doesn't have a
No,
Olah?
No, if he gets a Brit at the hospital, like right when it's born,
Yeah. So,
can there still be a Brit, like a celebration? Say we don't.
well, no, it's if a baby, for example, the hospital made a mistake or the parents made a mistake, and they let the hospital do the Brit Milah as soon as the baby was born, or a few days later, whatever it was. Usually it's a few days later. Then they would still have to do atafat adam. They would still have to confirm the Brit Milah was done right. You have to also know that the Goyim do the Brit Milah, the circumcision, different than Jews. So most times when they do the Brit Milah, the Goyim, they have an incomplete Brit Milah. So there has to be, if that baby grows up, becomes an adult, he has to have a second Brit Milah. He has to cut another piece that didn't cut before. Which is a nightmare, by the way. But the point is that if assuming they did the Brit Milah correctly, then the kid does not have to do Brit Milah, again, obviously he can't cut the same piece twice, but he would still have to do something called atafat adam, which is they prick, that member, and to generate a little bit of blood. But it's obviously not recommended to do it that way. It's recommended to have an expert, a moel, that knows the halacha, that's going to do Brit Milah. But anyway, if they're doing atafat adam, I don't believe that it needs to be done the 8th day. It can be done simply whenever they want, because it's no longer the same mitzvah. The mitzvah was already ruined, if you will. But yeah, they still can do a celebration. It just doesn't have the same significance, and it's not the same day. Thank you. Next question. Yes.
How does the name of a person and the date the person was conceived affect the neshama?
The Mekubalim say that one of the things that affects the neshama of a person is the first letter of their name. The first letter of their name. What name did their name start with? Because if you look at the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, you'll see that each letter in the Hebrew alphabet is not just an art piece. It's not just A, B, C. Each letter stands for something. So for example, the letter Gimel, the third letter of the Hebrew alphabet, is symbolizing Gomel Chasadim, someone that chases kindness. So people that their name starts with the letter Gimel tend to be more kind. And so on and so forth. Every letter has a certain significance. As far as the day that they were conceived, as far as the specific day, that has to do with mazalot, has to do with the impact that can be affected on them. That all depends on the person. It depends on the time frame. There is teachings even in the Torah that have to do with the stars, all the different signs. But the Torah also says, Hashem says to the prophets, if a person is a righteous Jew who learns Torah, does mitzvot, they're not subject to the luck and fortunes of the stars. That's only something that the Goyim are subject to. A Jew is above luck. The main thing that will affect a Jewish neshama is how they were conceived, not when they were conceived. Meaning whether they were conceived in Kedusha or Tumah. If the person was conceived in Tumah, meaning the woman was Nida, she didn't go to the mikveh, that neshama is going to have a very big obstacle. Doesn't mean that it's a bad neshama per se, but it's going to have a very big obstacle. If that neshama was conceived in Kedusha, that neshama is going to have different types of obstacles, but much, much less. It's much more likely to be a holy person. Also, it's there's different levels of neshamot. The point being is that these things do matter, but not after the fact. Don't delve too much into how you were conceived and when you were conceived and all of that stuff, because it doesn't really change your test anyway. It doesn't change your obligation anyway. Even if, chas v'shalom, you were conceived in the worst possible way. Rape, let's say. Rape and incest at the same time. Your obligation in the world is the same. Your obligation in the world is the same. You still have to do the will of Hashem. You're alive, Hashem can put neshama in your body. You're a Jew. You still have to fulfill the will of Hashem. Even if you're a non-Jew, you still have to fulfill the will of Hashem. Why? You're alive. That's it. So how you were conceived and when you were conceived and all of these different things, the Gemara in Masechet Chayga, page 14 or 13 says that the things that are above our control, that are of the mystical, let it be mystical. Let it be the business of Hashem. It's not in our hands. It's not in our hands, all that stuff. If it's after the fact, what are you going to do about, after the fact? This is what happened. Hashem allowed it to happen. That's it. Now this is the deck of cards that you were given. Do the best you can with it. But you can never use it as an excuse. No, I was born into a non-religious family. I was born into a religious family. That stuff doesn't matter. Why? Because there's plenty of examples in the Torah of people that come from really good families that become Esav. Meaning, Esav came from a good family, but he was still Esav. Hashem hates him. And there's plenty of fantastic people that came from the worst place on earth. Yitro came from idol worshippers. He himself was an idol worshipper and then became one of the most important Jews in history. Point being is that it doesn't matter who and what happened before you. That's out of your control. What's in your control is you today. You today, that's in your control. Do the best you can today. Next question, yes?
Why aren't you allowed to count people?
Excuse me?
Why aren't you allowed to count people in Judaism?
In two places in the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a census, meaning that Hashem counts people. And he says he's the only one that's allowed to count people, even though he knows how many people he has. He counts his people because he wants to show us that he loves us. He wants to show us that he loves us. We don't have the same affection to each other like Hashem has for us. We can't. Sometimes we count people and we don't think the same way like Hashem. Hashem says when you count people, it can create a plague. It create a plague. Why? Because of the different ayin hara you could have. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah, that's Steve, the rich guy. You just gave him ayin hara. You just gave him. So you counted them, nothing in much, but then you thought, oh, that's Steve, the rich guy. Oh, your counting led to problems. Oh, 3, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that's Joe with 9 kids. Oh, one of his kids died because of you now, because of your ayin hara. So don't count. So what do we do when we need to know the number? We count the chairs that people are sitting in. We count the kippot that people are wearing. We count things that everybody possesses, but not the people themselves. Why? Because only Hashem is allowed to count people. But there was a big tzaddik named David HaMelech that made this mistake. He would count his soldiers, and every day more of his soldiers died. Every day. And he didn't know that this was happening until it was almost too late. He made the mistake of counting his soldiers and almost lost his entire army. Point being is that Hashem does not want us to count people because he's the only one that's allowed to do it. Because when we do it, we bring ayin hara. We bring evil eye. Because we do not view each other anywhere nearly as favorable as the way Hashem views us. Next question. Good. We're spent. Chazakim Ruchim, you guys were on fire today. You should give yourself a round of applause. Ashrechem v'ashrech elkechem. Ashrechem Yisrael. You guys had fantastic questions today. I really, really appreciate you learning with me. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen. This has no questions. There's no questions.
What? No, my father told me tonight that I learned.
Okay. That was one thing, sir.